Okay, we are going live. It's been a while. Hello, Brandy. Hello, Rome. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Cosmic Mother Ministry. It's been a while. We have not went live in a while, and I do apologize for my absence. But it's for a good reason. If you're in our community, I explained that. I moved to Thailand, and I explained to you all the changes and shifts that will be going on in America. The reason for my leaving. Um, and the writing on the wall for women. What is Cosmic Mother Ministry? Cosmic Mother Ministry was created to restore women's divine authority and sovereignty. Inspired by my book, Matriarch to Patriarch, The Black Woman God, this ministry addresses spiritual overthrow of matriarchal societies led by Black women priestess and the corruption of the divine order through patriarchal systems. We're here to educate women about who they are internally to their core. Our mission is to reclaim truth, dismantle patriarchal lies, and rebuild women centered ministries and temples worldwide. These are not spaces only for spiritual practice, they exist to support women and children, strengthen community, and restore our relationship with earth, nature, and the universe. This is about remembrance, balance, and action. It is about restoring divine order by placing women back where they belong. Okay, that's why we do the work that we do. All right, I know it's been a while, you guys. Try to give you a heads up that I was here, that we'll be talking about today. Today we're going to be talking about the virgin. If anyone is in our community, if you're spiritual, um, spiritual then you're going to understand where I'm coming from. If you have studied the divine feminine, and if you have studied the mysteries at all, the occult sciences or spiritual sciences, these things are going to make sense to you, especially if you looked at Gnosticism. That's why we're going through this today. I posted this in our community, and you're probably looking at that and said, why did I post that there? Why did I post the Virgin of the World there? We're going to go over that so women can understand exactly who they are. It is a really big deal. That's why I'm here. It's not being talked about enough. What I'm seeing here, this is the time that women have something to say. I think women should be out there front and center talking about what is going on. Okay, because we gave birth to what we seeing around us, our mothers, our grandmothers, our great great mothers. It all started with women, and that's how it's going to end. It's going to end with women as well. It's all about you. So it's important that we understand who we are in mind, body, and spirit. And so we're here to show you, I'm here to show you exactly who you are so you can make better choices and you can have a community with resources that support you as you go through these shifts you are about to go through, especially Black, I'm telling you, women in America. You're about to see some shifts going on. It's all about you. It's all about you. I got to get this in your head because I think, we've been so passive in our demise, and it's time for you to wake up and really understand who you are. So let's jump in here. Let's see. The religious beliefs, the mysteries, and rites developed by ancient women grew organically out of the women's supreme roles of culture producers, mothers, prime communicators with the spirit world. The mysteries of creation, transformation, and recurrence, the primal mysteries of all religion emerge from women's direct physical, psychic experiences from these mysteries, in bleeding and growing a child, in nursing, in working with fire, and making a pot, and planting a seed. Okay. All of these religious rites, all of these rites came from women and their relationship with nature, their children, the plants, and everything around them. Hi, how you doing, Live Free 089? It all started with women. There's no doubt about that. If we've already covered the great cosmic mother in our community, so if you haven't saw that video, go back and watch that video. Okay, we're going to go more into this as well when we get into religion. We're attacking. We are, and I'm not saying attacking. We are dismantling religion right now for women because that is the very thing they use to brainwash us. Religion was used first on women. They did it first on women before they went on and start using it on other indigenous people. It's important for women to understand that. They did a trial run on you. They start changing everything when it came to you first. It was successful in conquering you and brainwashing you, so they went on to practice this on other people. That's the reality of what happened there. Okay, that is the reality. It's important for you to understand it. That's the reality. What happened to women? Religious rites were combined with the industry. Women's religions were organic, a unity of body and spirit, of daily life tasks and cosmic meaning. So now we're looking at the text in our community. We're getting into the virgin of the world. In other words, core Cosmo remains a vital text for the understanding the intersection of ancient Egyptian spirituality and Hermetic philosophy, attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. Now, you'll see a lot of people talk about the emerald tablet. You'll hear a lot of people talk about Thoth and Tahuti. I have to stop them every time, and you're going to be seeing this being repeated among the men in the metaphysical community. That is very new metaphysical knowledge when they stop there. Because the knowledge that they're getting, all these rituals and all this wisdom and all this knowledge is coming from the divine feminine, from the ancient pre-dynastic pantheon of women there. That's where they're getting it from. And you're going to see men, they're going to stick with Thoth. And I've seen some women too. I always say, hey, you guys need to go back further, because Thoth is being attributed to like the communication, but he wouldn't know how to write. He wouldn't know mathematics or anything like that without session. We have covered this before. And I'm sorry I'm getting a little nerdy on you. This could be above, I hope I'm not. I hope you're still with me on this. I hope I'm not above your head with this, because these are the rituals that they use in the occult. These are the rituals that they use in Freemasonry. These are the rites and rituals that were stolen from women. And now they use them. And as we go through the core of Cosmo, you can clearly see this is a divine feminine passage of rites when you read it. Anybody out there familiar with the Virgin of the World? They're talking about you. They're talking about the divine feminine. They're talking about women and their relationship with the universe. As above, so below. I hope I'm not, I hope I haven't lost any of you. Okay. Hermes Trismegistus is not of Egyptian origin. He's not primordial and not the source of wisdom that's attributed to him. What later traditions call Hermetic is not original. It's Greek revelation. It is a Greek reinterpretation of much older Egyptian temple knowledge filtered through patriarchal lens that required male authorship to legitimize sacred authority. That's what's going on. These men have stole these rights from women, and now they have taken it over. The first wave of this happened. It happened first within a civil outbreak within the Egyptian Empire. That's not what they was calling themselves, but yeah, between the matriarchs and the patriarchs. If you go back and you look at some of those, you will see some of the matriarch temples were built on top of by the patriarchs there. So they were colonized a couple of times. It's important that and this is rarely talked about when I hear people talk about the black woman is God, but then when it's time to go into details about this, these very smart men, sometimes they stop. But this is a real topic, important topic. I think it's the most important topic ever, because it's a lot of stuff We've been distracted by a lot of stuff, so we won't pay attention to this. But why wouldn't you want to pay attention to someone who was responsible for all humanity? You're going to be paying close attention to them, because if they stop creating people, the world don't exist anymore. Women can do that. We have the power to not let any soul come through the portal. You think it's not about you, but it's very much about you, beloved. I'm trying to help you understand it. And this is not man hate. This is not feminism. This has been going on so long outside of your consciousness, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with these men. This is what's going on with them. This is why their mind is raggedy like this. Bless their heart. Okay, this why that's why you're seeing this divide between what you call the divine feminine is actually sin. And men have been brainwashed and bamboozled about who they really are. They don't know. I'm going to chop it up to they don't know. They don't know who they are. They don't know. That's why it's up to us to find out, get knowledge of self, and know who we are, and choose what type of relationships we want to be in with them, whether we want to be in a relationship with them at all. The way things are going now is because you don't know who you are. And now you're waking up to who you are, a lot of us, and he's upset because he still is brainwashed with some of this raggedy stuff. And they out here doing raggedy stuff. We've already talked about that. There is a high percentage of them are doing raggedy stuff. They have a false perception of women in general, the original cosmic being. That's why we have been talking about this a lot on this, on these platforms. No one can deny that. Okay? The phrase core Kosmou means virgin of the world, or more accurately, the maiden of the cosmos. In ancient cosmology, core does not mean inexperienced or sexually untouched. It means self-contained, sovereign, not yet entered or claimed by another order. This is the womb language, not moral language. The virgin is the world before domination, before hierarchy, before ownership. She is the creation of conscious itself. She is the matrix. Everything is coming from her. And the woman is the as above, so below, is the physical manifestation of her. Now, see, this is why this Jesus things were put into place as well. Because they're doing everything to mimic the spiritual system of women. Everything you see that's set up with religion and the spiritual rights. And I know this is hard to wrap your mind around. I had to write this in my book, Matriarch the Patriarch. But if you go into the book, The Sybil, was that the Sybil? No, this was the Africans who wrote the Bible. The author talks about how there were people, there were men, patriarchs that started their own little religious or spiritual movement trying to overthrow the Egyptian matriarchs. That's talked about in that book. I'm trying to think of another book. And I think it talks a little bit about that in the Sybil as well. The book by Mama Zobi. I think it talks about that a little bit. So we do know, again, they've had a chance to rewrite books, rewrite history, and make women feel like they were never uh, a part of history, never a part of civilization. Why wouldn't it be? Because you wouldn't be here without her. I don't know a man that came here without coming through a womb of a woman. Show me one. Show me a man, that didn't come through a womb of a woman. And show me a woman that's coming from a rib of a man. The lies, the lies, the lies. Show me a woman that actually came from a rib of a man. These are just lies that men made up because they did not have a womb. And the womb is a symbol of, again, the universe, the cosmos. They don't have that. Okay, that's why we're going, that's why we have to go through this. And you're going to get this Hopefully, if you're in our community, you've got this text and you're going through it and you're seeing for yourself how they have switched things around in this text, in this passage, this rites of passage, going into priestesshood. And this is the same text that they use in the occult when they're going through different initiations. This is what some of the Freemasons use. Okay. This is the same thing. And they will tell you in their fancy little book. I like that they write little books uh, to kind of tell you what they're doing in there. They can't say that they're not doing it because most of the occultists, they come right out of there and start sharing some of the rituals with you. And none of this should be hidden, because if women had control of these sciences, because that's what it is, it's spiritual sciences, people would be people would be very much advanced. But because these men, the patriarchs, took over and they hid this knowledge from the masses again, it's consciousness. It's a war on consciousness. The consciousness has been bonded and brainwashed. That is what's going on there. Okay, I hope haven't lost anyone. I hope I haven't lost you. That's what's going on there. Okay. In ancient cosmology, core does not mean inexperienced or sexually untouched. I already went through that. In the text, the Virgin speaks through Isis. Isis is again, you're seeing in that Isis is being the embodiment of the cosmic mother. That's why I say I always go through her. Even though and it's amazing when you hear this, when I hear men talk about, because that's the first thing you see a lot of them gravitate towards, because that is a powerful uh I can say it's an archetype too. That is a powerful anchor in history that men kind of relate themselves to, where you see in pharaohs and rule and all this spiritual power and all this spiritual science and development. It goes there. It's just like a powerful symbol of civilization. So you hear them talk about that, but rarely ever, because none of them could really have that power without the coming through the divine feminine, because the royalty was through her. It was through the mother. It was through the divine feminine. But yeah, you see them talk about that, and it's never mentioned. In order for them to do certain things, they had to go through the rites of passage. You see that in Moses. We see that with Moses in the Bible. I wrote about this in my book, Matriarch the Patriarch. If you're interested in getting it, it's on Amazon. But they say they don't like Egyptians, but yet the Egyptians saved uh, the Jews' life. Okay, these Abrahamic patriarchs, they say they life because y'all went there because it was a famine in y'all land. Okay, and then you said we had y'all slaves, but that wasn't none of that was true. It was the other way around that was going on with women. You'll see that constantly being repeated in the Bible. They're accruing these women. You even have in some of their religions, if you are unalive, you get 800 or 700 wives. I think that's in um is it in the Quran? You know, so again, you're being objectified. Why are they objectifying you? Let's stop and think, especially the women that's in your religious right now. It's very important, especially for religious women, because you support the very thing that oppresses you. And then you wonder why things are not going the way that you're not making spiritual contact the way you want to. It's because you're in something that doesn't work. It's not meant, it wasn't built for you. It was made for them by them. I just have to be very matter of fact about it, because who is it addressing? Majority in there is addressing men. So I have to look at that side of it too, peeling back all the lies. That's basically what that is. They even told you you were evil, your body was evil, your beauty was evil. They told you all that stuff. They had a lot of them got them, got us worshiping them. It's a whole program to get women to let me put it another way. It is a whole program, a war on women's mind to disconnect them from themselves and connect them with men. Your whole identity, we are grown from a very young age that our identity come through men, through TV, through media, through songs and all that. Through this so-called thing called love or being in love. I get it. It is a beautiful thing. It can be a beautiful thing when both people understand who they are. Okay. In the text, the Virgin speaks through Isis. Isis, okay, again, it's the same thing. And the popes and the Catholic Church, they went on to mimic this whole ritual and thing that's going on here in the Virgin of the world. That alone tells us this is not a male author initiation myth. Because in the Virgin of the world, the first thing they mention is Isis. Isis is doing the talking here. Isis is explaining how the cosmos work and her relationship with the cosmos. But instead, they have taken it out and entered themselves. Okay, these rights would have been for the woman who's holding these titles, not specifically for only men only. They took that over. She would be the one who have to give those rights. And what is so crazy about it when you start looking at the rights of the Virgin of the world, and you know how it was tweaked, which we're going to go into that probably in another live stream. So you probably want to be there for that. We're going over this to kind of dismantle all these lies as well. When we really look at Gnosticism and what Gnosticism really is, I think a lot of people have been um, they're confused about what Gnosticism is. We're going to break that down in our probably next week. We'll go over that. Okay, but this is what's going on here. The one who explains creation, humanity, the descent of the soul, and the original. The divine state is not a godfather, lawgiver, or king. It is the cosmic mother instructing her lineage. This is exactly how women's initiation worked in the ancient temple systems. Knowledge was transmitted mouth to ear, mother to daughter, priestess to priestess. The initiate did not learn facts. She remembered who she was before embodiment. And that is a lot. You can see that go on in women with a lot of that intuition because we're remembering. We have a lot of DNA memory. That is why we have a lot of more DNA in us than our counterparts, the XY. We carry a lot of memory, and a lot of it comes out through our intuition. So and when you're reading that right, it is about remembering. You're stepping into a realm of remembering. And you can see some of that too. And you saying, "Oh, I don't think I remember Miss Penny. I don't think this much." Yes, it is. You do the same thing when you're getting ready to have a baby. The connection, the intuitive connection you have with your children, it's the same thing. That knowledge again is put in you. You may not see it. This is why we had mystery temples and everything like that to help us hone in on our intuition and gain wisdom behind it. We had certain temples, psychic temples, where you would go learn that, or you would have learned it from your mom. The structure is telling. The virgin does not ask permission. She does not justify her authority. She speaks as intelligence that preceded form. She explains that souls were once luminous, divine, and free, and that the embodiment was descent into a limitation, not punishment, but forgetting. So you'll see in they will explain, this is how this is explained, that the soul got into a body and got trapped into a human body. And so now this is the patriarch story. Now the soul is imprisoned in this body. And that, and you'll hear this story, that if she did this by accident, you know, and she's going back and forward with this other lesser god, telling him, hey, you're you come from me. And then she's kind of again blamed for his imperfection because she created him. This is patriarch story. This is how they're saying, and this is not to be interpreted this way, but yet it's being interpreted this way. But here in this text, she is explaining that, hey, this is how the soul comes here in the physical realm. This is the science of the soul. This is the progression of the soul. She's explaining the science here, but yet the patriarchs have taken the science and they have told it in a way that it's evil to be in the physical form because you have corrupted the physical reality. Because you are imperfect God. You have made yourself a God and gave yourself dominion over this physical reality by controlling the portals, the gateways to women. I hope that helped. Did I lose anyone? Because I'm trying to break it down to you so you understand what's happening here. That's what's happening there. Okay. And this was going to make more sense because we're going to come here and do another live stream, and you will get again the studies and the resources on Gnosticism, so you'll see it for yourself, and then we'll have a discussion about it, just like we're having here, for you to understand who you are. And I think that's important. You can try to bash men. We can talk about the XY chromosome. You can say what he's not doing and all of that. Yeah, that'd be lovely. Yeah, they have done some damage and they're still doing damage. That is the reason why we need to understand who we are so the damage can stop. Because talking about them and trying to get them to change is going to do. The only thing that the changing has to come with the way we have our relationships with them and putting ourselves into center of everything. And you notice when we do that, a lot of them copy us. Isn't that telling you something? Isn't that telling you something? They try to copy us. We want a soft life. They want a soft life. We baddies. They want to be baddies. This has went on for centuries. Okay, can't change. You got to get away from them and focus on you and figure out who you are. So when you figure out who you are, again, you have more control how you interact with them, and the power lessens. And let me move on. I don't want to get off topic. I'll go through that in a minute. I want to get on my soapbox. The source in women's religion is the Great Mother, who is the great cosmic. I'm trying to make, yeah. Let me not forget this. I hope I didn't say that. She explains so where soul's luminous divine free embodiment and was a descent into the limitation, not a punishment, but forgetting. This is exactly the knowledge a high priestess would need, not the morality, but cosmic orientation. To serve as a bridge between worlds, she was to understand why the soul descends, how it becomes entangled, and how remembrance restores order. So if the women would have had their, again, this knowledge would be to everybody, you will remember everything about yourself because of these rites and things like that. It wasn't a punishment to come here in this physical realm, but for him, that's how they set that up in their spiritual science. They totally flipped this. They totally flipped this because in the way they have flipped this, and we're looking at Christianity because it's built on this, again, this Saturn and this patriarchal ideology. It is built from punishment and suffering. They changed this whole thing. That's why they had to write these doctrines and these religions and stuff. That's why you have religion. They didn't want the spiritual science. No, 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 no. And then they hid it. They put it in their books and they created these fantasies for you to think that it's literal, but really it was a science that was not being explained to you. We understood how the soul progresses and why the soul came into a physical reality, and we helped them remember. There's even rituals like that in some cultures. Before a baby is born, they do rituals asking the child why the child is coming into this physical reality. Okay, so all of this stuff has been flipped, especially you when you see this doing that. My emphasis is on the Abrahamic religions. They seem to have the strongest hold of misogyny and racism. Okay, a lot because they had to start from there. Because again, when women ruled, we ruled from the spiritual science, from the throne all the way up. All of it was one. Spirituality, all that was one. It was never separate. It's not till the patriarchs come up trying to understand our knowledge, they start separating things and disconnecting people. That's what happens when you try to steal something that you don't understand. You start making up stuff and then you try to make yourself relevant because you were nowhere in there. You are not a cosmic being. You have no cosmic, any connection you had, it had to come through the divine feminine. She had to initiate you. Where there were men initiated, I think that's where this mistake happened right there. That's my opinion. There should not have been any XY chromosome being initiated into these sciences like that. Not like that. Have you ever seen a woman pope? I say that because have you ever seen a woman pope? Have you ever seen a woman pope? Freemasonry was only for men for a long time before women started getting their own fraternities. You have never seen a woman pope. This is why I say that. And when you see him, who he is dressed up like, he's dressed up like a divine feminine with that robe on. He has no choice but to wear that because that is the symbol of divine authority in this world is a divine feminine. So he has to dress like her. That's a fact, Jack. Okay, it shouldn't have been going on at all. Not at all. This is exactly the knowledge of how priesthood would need, not morality, but cosmic orientation to serve a bridge between worlds. She understands why the soul descends. Okay, she understood this, and these men came in and corrupted it and told you it was a hell, and told you again, because what did he do? And we're gonna go through this again. He made himself the master, even in this Bible. Even in Freemasonry, their God is the God of this physical reality. That's what they're talking about. Even when I love seeing the men in metaphysics. I don't know if you guys catch it, but because I study these sciences, I'm kind of weird and like that. Okay, I'm kind of nerdy and weird like that. I'm sorry, but I notice when they get up there, they will talk about the divine feminine, but they're also talking about only the occult sciences that men created. And it's funny too, you know, take notice to that. Take notice to that. There is there is some patterning going on there. There's a pattern going on there when you see that. The source in women's religion is the Great Mother, who is the great cosmic weaver, the divine potter, the carrier of heavenly water jar. We participate in her substance, her nature, her processes, her play, her work. In her are both the lower regions of the tomb, the world of the dead, and the upper regions of the celestial sky, whose stars are her eyes. The groundwater belongs to the belly wound region of the lower female. The heavenly rainwater belongs to the great breast, the region of the upper female. As divine water jar, she is the mistress of upper waters, the rain, and of the lower waters, the brooks, springs, and rivers flowing from the womb of the earth. The Egyptian sky and water jar goddess Nut nourishes the earth with her milky rain. In fact, our word galaxy comes from the Greek galaxy, meaning milky circle, and the Milky Way describes the thick white streams of stars pouring from her breast and her yoni as uterus. She is the vessel that breaks with childbirth, pouring forth water like well springs. All this was perfectly understood, and science was perfectly understood in our arts. Men understood that. That's why you have them, the baptism, the waters, the spilling of Jesus' blood. All this was the mimic to the divine feminine. They didn't have the blood, they did not have the womb, they did not have the water. That's what this is about. Them mimicking all this science and applying it to themselves. And it took them years to do this. It took them years, just like you're seeing now, what's going on over there in America. Women didn't think this was a strike against them. We made this mistake before. We thought, oh, it's not about us. They not, no, not them. No, 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 no. We got our finger wrapped around them. Ain't no way they would do this. They are brothers. They are our fathers. A lot of women got unalive thinking like this. A lot of mothers, a lot of sisters got unalive thinking just like you thinking now. Yes. I'm trying to put it to you like that. You already see what's going on over there. I posted that in our community. They are messing with passports. They are denying passport. They are retracting passports. And they are talking about shutting down the country over there. You've already seen. I've given you the updates in our community so you can see it for yourself. I'm not here to, uh, uh, you know, frighten you or anything. I'm here to make you aware. And due to all the shift and changes that's going on over there in America right now, and really abroad, because I'm seeing a lot of these little spats break out, women should be concerned. Women and children should be concerned because these men, they are willing to push the button. They don't care about pushing the button. Isn't that something? You don't raise women and children. You don't look after women and children. You don't protect women and children. And we in the big what do you call that? The PDF scandal in the world, and you can't wait to push the button. Isn't that just that's so XY chromosome behavior? Just more self-destruction and self-sabotage. Let's not address the issue here. Let's not address this. Let's just push the button and just destroy everything. That way no one really finds out how raggedy we are. That's what's going on. He know he raggedy. Okay? Got a whole bunch of they know they right raggedy. Who's the number one predator against women and children? You see it with the PDF files. And if you're not careful, that's what's going to happen. When this brainwashing happens, it's only going to, again, this is dark psychology that these men has doing. They're very opposite when you change the sciences like that. Your science is built on brainwashing people and torture. Look at what's going on around you. If that's not so, then why is this going on around you? And I know a lot of us are angry. I was angry too. It's, but it's time to channel that anger in building institutions and building safe havens focused on only women. I don't think the best thing we can do is focus on us and building, because that's exactly what they did to get where they are. Are all of them like that? No. There are some that unpacking packing their stuff, but not enough of them. And not enough of them are holding each other accountable. I hope I haven't lost anyone. Okay, let's go on. In ancient matriarchal systems, priestess did not worship the goddess. They embodied her office. Initiation was not symbolic, it was functional. A woman was ritually aligned with the world soul so that her speech, presence, and ritual actions carried cosmological authority. Core cosmos reads like the spoken cosmology used to awaken that authority. Later, when men gained control over temples, literacy, and archives, they did what patriarchal systems always do. They preserved the technology while removing the womb context. That's exactly what they did. You'll see a lot of these rituals again in the Golden Dawn. You'll see this ritual of Isis being, these Egyptian rituals being brought up in there with Isis and Horus being mentioned. And I have to add that Horus is a brand new addition to that as well. Even that is a hijacking of the patriarchs coming in, taking it over, especially when you start reading these crazy stories um, about men being born from other men's semen and things like that. That's when you seeing the patriarchs take over the sciences because it doesn't make sense, or a woman coming from a man's rib. You'll start seeing these crazy stuff that don't make sense. You be like, that's not even biologically possible. So it got to make sense. That's why you got a lot of fantasy and stuff, and a lot of this stuff. It's a hell, it's a heaven, and it's Jesus is coming out the sky. But you didn't have these type of fanatical stories if you understood again this hidden knowledge that they're hiding from you. It would have been explained to you. You'd have understood how you were connected to everything. I hope I haven't lost you. This is what has happened. The initiation narrative survived, but the initiate was quite quietly changed. What was once a cosmic mother initiating her daughters became a teaching that Hermes, the male students, the ritual's voice was reclassified as philosophy. The maternal transmission became an abstract doctrine. And that's when you see these doctrines and stuff, and you have a lot of these doctrines and stuff being born. That's to hold the religion in place. That's why you have different denominations of religion, because men wrote doctrines to keep their religion, their brainwashing in place. That's the best way I can say that. Okay. When Greek scholars encountered Egyptian cosmology, ritual science, and priestly records, they did not credit the original keepers of that knowledge. They translated, renamed, and masculinized it. Hermes Tremides is a literary and philosophical construct, an amalgamation designed to make Egyptian wisdom intelligible and acceptable to Greek intellectual culture. He is a bridge figure, not a source figure. So for them, when Hermes I probably pronounced the name wrong, Trismegistus, this Hermes, I'm just gonna say Hermes. When it's Hermes, when you see this Hermes, because I see a lot of people go into Hermes and they go into alchemy and they go into all of these things, learning this from that perspective. Yes, there is some good knowledge in it, but I must say that that knowledge did not begin with Hermes. You need to go back a little further and look at Seshet, because that knowledge is coming from her. You're seeing that knowledge come in with Tahuti. You're seeing that knowledge come in with Thoth. You're seeing that same knowledge with Hermes. You see how many times they've been colonized, and it all started with Seshet. See how many times they've been colonized, how these men came in and conquered and changed that. And we went through this in our hoodoo community over there. There's many people in our hoodoo community over there, and I have broken this down to them when we went through the Egyptian Pantheon, because we have to go through that because, again, a lot of these religions originated from Egypt. A lot of their spiritual concepts and sciences came from the matriarchal sciences. So we have to go over there and look at it. And when we looked over there and we were talking about Kabbalah, we saw 3 different sets of pantheons that were created for the overthrow. People that came in and overthrow the Egyptian empire, they went in and they created and built on top of that. They created their own pantheons and gods on top of that. The Greeks done there was there was customary for them to do that. And the first one you're gonna see were Seshet, Isis, Nut. They're the first pantheons there. And so you have the rest of them building on top of that, even marrying into the original matriarchal, marrying up a pairing with those goddesses. You'll see that with the angels too, when you're looking at the virtues. A lot of the angels are getting a lot of this power from the Queen of Heaven. Who is the Queen of Heaven? Isis, Aset, the Cosmic Mother. Mary. They call Mary the Queen of Heaven, right? Originates back there. And I know they're giving Hermes a lot of this knowledge in the emerald tablets and all that. I have to tell you to slow down and pump the brakes, especially as women. Your alchemy is a lot older. This is him intellectualizing your spiritual science. This is something that is innately in you that he has to study. We went through this when we looked at Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, because at the top of their mysticism and key source behind it is Sophia, the divine feminine. But we're steady calling this God a man. But in the center of it, the core mystery and hidden knowledge of it, the source of it is coming from the divine feminine. Yeah, why do we got to go out there? Why we can't just say God is a woman? Why is God always being represented as a man? I know I ask myself these questions. Do you ask yourself these questions? A brainwashing is real. Brainwashing is real. I find myself in our hoodoo community constantly taking a misogyny and colorism out of things. I'm constantly doing that to make sure that my community gets safe information without all the fluff and watered down crap. The same thing I'm doing here. Is that's what you're gonna see, when you see the version of the world, that's them that has their hand on it. So now they have created these rituals. Okay. The earliest Egyptian cosmology, make sure the earliest Egyptian cosmology does not begin with Thoth as a solitary divine intellect. It begins with Seshet, the goddess of writing, measurement, memory, architecture, record keeping, and cosmic order. She is present at the founding of the temples, the stretching of the cord, the measurement of time and space itself. Seshet is not merely a scribe; she is the one who makes the knowledge possible. Without her, there is nothing to record, no language to encode, ritual, no structure to preserve memory across generation. In this sense, Session is not a subordinate figure. She is the primordial. She's older than him. She taught him. Now, maybe this is man, and then you'll see that Thoth is really credit it to men. You'll see a lot of men that gravitate to Hootie or Thoth. Okay, because again, this is their spiritual science. We've already perfected ours. We got an outside person that we were trying to teach spiritual science to. But because he lacked understanding and wanted dominance, and being ego led, he took this over and corrupted it. That's what that thing is about. Enoch and the angels got slept with the women. All this is about that. But they telling in the fantasy like this didn't really happen. As above, so below. This really happened to women. Just a story about what happened to us. Sitting there telling you what they did to you without telling you what they did to you. That's what happened. We have so many things to unpack as women. As women of color, we have so many things to unpack. We have to unpack the colorism, the global racism and colorism that we deal with. Then we have to deal with the fact, we was colonized on that. Now we have to deal with the fact that we were colonized as women as a whole, globally. So they started on the dark skinned people. They tried it out on the women folk. They thought because they knew how to fight, that they were smarter, because they were stronger. But everything you are, all the muscles, everything you are, you got from us. Okay, so that's what's going on there. She's stretching the cord. She's measuring everything, and you'll see. And I've heard that some of these rituals like this, the stretching of the cord, the measurement things, some of the some Freemasons still practice this sort of ritual. I'm not sure if they're using a woman in it, but they still practice this ritual. But that is another reason why they wear those aprons with the M in the front of that. That's a part of their attire. Because again, they're using divine feminine energy to create an organization. Isn't that something? They were so upset about that they wanted an all men's fraternity just for men. This goes all the way back. And women, we didn't have a right to have these type of. Many of us didn't have a right to have these sort of fraternities. Only they had access to that information. That's how they wanted it. Okay, so that's what you see happening there. This is why the text feels strangely intimate and instructional rather than argumentative. It does not persuade, it awakens. It is the mark of initiation literature, not speculative thought. Men later adapted it to themselves because the rite worked, but it was never designed for male ascent through hierarchy. And this is how they've been using it. This was meant for, again, the divine cosmic order. This was meant for a priestess, for them to come to the priestess and ask for the divine guidance of the world. The same way they go to the Pope and get his guidance on things. You think he's not pulling in the political strings? I beg you the difference. This is where all this stuff started. They the folks that were sending people invading indigenous people land. So how you think they politically got anything to say about this when they were sending, promising people they're gonna make them political leaders if they go over there and invade lands and stuff? It's the same people doing the same ragged stuff, sitting up there on the great mother's throne. He just as ragged as he can be, doing all kind of unimaginable things to women and children in that organization. It's blasphemous. And then call yourself the spiritual icon of people worldwide. Ain't that something? And then you have the people marching for peace. I have not seen that one pope or priest march for peace in that country. I haven't seen not one of them come out and talk about what is going on with this the raggedy stuff that they do, because it started with them. It started with them. Ain't none of them have come out. And then you want women to believe, and I want you to get this out your mind, women, my beloved cosmic beings. Get this out your mind. There is no good men. You have other good men watching raggedy men do raggedy stuff. So where is the good men at? Where's the good men at that's watching the raggedy men do? There's no good men. Because if he was good, he'd be sitting the raggedy men down. It'd be more of them holding them accountable. That is our demand. It should be our demand as women. We can demand that. We don't feel we need to start demanding that. Y'all talking about I'm not all of them like that. With the ones that's not like that, the ones that's like that, y'all need to sit them down. Or when y'all see they trying to hurt us, you need to intervene. But you will sit there and watch us being attacked and hurt, a lot of men, and you won't intervene. So where is the good man? There is none. Not very many. That's why I can say it's not none. It's not very many. You look around you, what's happening? Who's doing what? Who is doing what to who? Where are we at right now? Who's the leader? Who is the leader? Who's supposed to be leading us? And look at the condition that we're in right now. And look at the leader. Who's the leader? He has a track record of not succeeding, not being able to do it. If I were you, if I were them, I would sit down, I would go ahead and take the L and say, you know what? We've been doing this for thousands of years. Apparently men can't do this. We think that we can do it, but we can't. We clearly shows that we can't do this. Because we keep on, wanting to push the button and then want to destroy people and hurting women and children. It clearly shows we don't have enough self-control, but yet we want to be the symbol of spirituality, God and government and all that, justice and freedom. And you're not that. You take away and you threaten all the good virtues, morality, and attributes that life has to offer. You make life look ugly and raggedy with your perception of how you think it should go. And all this stems from your ego and capitalism. You got to sit down. And it's okay. Women, you ain't got to fight them. All you got to do is get yourself somewhere and find out who you are and start moving like that. And don't deal with him until he meets the standards. If you don't meet the standards, then it ain't no nookie, ain't no conversation, it ain't none of that. Because that's the standard. But see, the standard they have now is very low. And I'm sorry they did that for you because they got that in your mind. Just because you're a man, we supposed to give you a pass. You're absolutely wrong. You're absolutely wrong. When we do not have to put up with that. And the more we educate ourselves and walk in our divine, again, uh, sovereignty and walk away from these religions, because the religions is the thing that they use to brainwash you. I have to keep saying this over and over again because you got a lot of these people, they are brainwashed. A lot of women are brainwashed into this Jesus thing. They got you in love with a man, and that is the very thing that is destroying everything around you. Yeah, never meant supposed to be worshiping a man at all. That was never meant to happen. No. This is the problem right here. You will always be lacking every time you think that God is a man. It's impossible. Why I know you think that. I kick myself around sometimes and say, how could you ever believe that when you know darn well you have seen no shining example of that in any man? But they have to keep brainwashing, again, brainwashing mechanism, saying it over and over again. It's a whole program with that. Trust me, I'm 53 years old. I've had my experience with men. Okay. Listen to your auntie. Listen to us older women, your grandmothers. They probably have told you that. Listen to their experience. They're not bitter. They have experience. They letting you know what's going on with them. Listen to men. They don't trust each other. When you ask them, did they want to be on the planet without women? They said no. You ask another man if he trusts another man, he says no. It's important for us to understand it. Until we understand it, there's a lot of us doing great work out here, and we're talking about what's going on. But what I really think too, the brainwashing is so deep with women, a lot of women, that we're not ready to do our own work and let that go. I know the programming is deep. The programming is so deep. A lot of us want to entertain that fantasy. That's exactly what it is, a fantasy. You weren't meant to be with him like that. We have to really think about how we engage in relationships with them, because the way they're giving us to engage with them is not working. It's not working. So we have to choose how we want to engage with them, not let them tell us how they want us to engage with them. No, sir, because you don't know what you're doing. You're trying to siphon energy. You're trying to oppress. You want to be a woman. So no, I'm not going to do that. You trying to be like me. No, I'm not letting you do. No. We have to really sit down with this. Are all of them like that? No, but it's too many to ignore that this is an issue. Okay? I'm not bashing them or anything. I'm saying they need to re-educate themselves, and we need to re-educate ourselves. You want the problem to end. You wish that it would end. The only way it's going to end if women make better choices and know who they are. And that's going to start spiritually. Sorry, you guys, my YouTube family. That's going to take a root spiritually, because the first thing they had to do, again, they had to brainwash you. If we don't let that go, this man God and all this punishing God. It was something when I started unpacking it that was so hard to unpack, because the brainwashing was I just took this off. The brainwashing was real. Okay, and I know it's hard to unpack. I know it takes time, but it's necessary. It's very necessary. It's going to be very, very necessary, because the things that you are about to experience, I've said this. This is why you haven't heard from me. You guys haven't heard from me in a long time. I've said this, and everything I've said has happened, you guys. Everything we have talked about on this channel, in our community, things I have said here has come to pass. Okay? They are already shutting down. They're working on these passports and shutting down where you can't travel outside. They're going to try to keep you in the U.S. You should be concerned. There have been people that have passports that try to travel in the United States. Again, flag their passport and they're deported back. These are things that you should be concerned about. You should be very, very concerned and have your community, again, focus on your community, getting the support, being a support with women, especially if you're a single woman. You're going to need a community. I assure you of that. I know you don't see it. You said, no, but this just the ICE people. They're just focused on the immigrants. And okay, all right. I would rather be safe than sorry. I would be doing some research about how many women are impacted by what's going on here, especially women of color. I would be very concerned. I'll be very, very concerned. Okay. When men enter these rites, the meaning subtly shifted. Instead of becoming vessels of balance, they sought mastery instead of remembrance. They sought control. The world soul was no longer something to embody in harmony. It became something to manipulate through occult knowledge. And that's what happened there. This is where Hermeticism splits from the maternal root, the same current, the different intention. That's why he's get credit for manipulating energy, the alchemy, and all of that. Go back and look at the science again, and I look at their occult books, and you'll see that as we go on. Of course, women in our community, you're going to learn a lot more about your occult sciences, and through our rituals, you're going to learn really more about how powerful you are with your magic, especially when you get a group of women together with real intention. But they in the occult science, the first thing that they try to do, the complaint I have heard, even with arbitrary magic, even when you look at Solomonic magic, uh, their thing was to control these spirits. They wanted to control these spirits to get riches, to get things like that. You'll find that in the occult book when they work with some of these energies, it will start backfiring on them the more material that they got. And they was like, "Oh, we can't work with this, and you can only work with them because when you try to do this right there, they get more violent and mischievous, and they can cause more harm than good." Because every time, again, you'll see this recurring theme in a lot of the occult books. Then you'll see that men, you have different occult. That's how chaos magic was born. That's how different these what I want to say occult hates calling it mystery organizations were created because some people didn't vibe with the way they water down some of the spiritual sciences. That's how you have chaos magic being born. And what people figured, if you chaos magic is very interesting to me because it looks a lot like hoodoo. They had to go back to the origin, to shamanism, to animism, to activate that magic. And this is after the Greeks and some of the Greeks, the Egyptian pharaohs. Again, they watered that down. They have watered that down to intellectualize it. What I've noticed in the occult, in a lot of their materials, they intellectualize a lot of things. There's a lot of mental manipulation going on in their writings. There's not enough feeling. There's not enough unfolding. There's a lot of intellectualizing to understand what's going on. Okay. And I'm glad they document all of it. Versus when you read again, because I studied the occult, the mysteries. So I studied the spiritual science in order to perfect my own magic and access my own ashe. And when I read women's experiences with this, it's a lot more unfolding and natural compared when men write about the spiritual signs versus when women write about their spiritual experience in science. It's night and day. They do a lot of intellectualizing because again, you're trying to understand something that was not meant for you. It was never supposed to be taught to you by another man. It was supposed to be taught to you by a woman. Men are not supposed to be spiritual teachers. Why would you be spiritually teaching somebody you don't even bring a soul into this world? Why would you even be listening to a man tell you anything about spirituality? This man doesn't bring any souls into the world. He haven't pushed no baby out of his. He don't even have a womb. He has no cosmogenetic link to the moon, the universe, or anything like that. This is why the patriarchs created that astrological sun chart called astrology that is not accurate. And then now we have to look at Vedic astrology because they includes the movement of the moon as well. So you have Western patriarchs again messing with astrology too, putting themselves in the center of the universe as sun. You see, in other do it as well, but they didn't mess up the astrology the way they did, taking out the 13th zodiac, or not even acknowledging the moon and associating yourself with the sun, the ego. Okay, you messed that all up. This is what they have done. And you want him to tell you something about humanity. That's why I trip out when they're talking about humanity and they're talking about spirituality. I just trip out. How would you know? You, sir, sit down. None of them, and a lot of, a lot of, do they do it on purpose? No, because this sort of behavior is normalized. And then women, we need to really start asking who taught him that, because many of the times the things that they are learning, or the things that they know, they were influenced some way by a woman. You already know they will mirror us, they will copy us. We already see that now. Everything we do, they do. A lot of them do. The masses of them do. Whatever we are, they want to be. Okay? You have got a lot of them out here acting feminine and all this kind of stuff. You already, they copy you. I had to get that through your head. And you want him to preach to you and tell you the right thing, and he don't push no babies out. He don't even raise his children. And you think he supposed to be leading the country? He don't even know how to raise his children. He don't even give life. Don't know life. He ain't got no yoni. He ain't got no womb. He has. I mean, we really have to sit with these women. We're listening to someone that have no natural connection at all. In fact, his job is to try to disconnect you as much as possible and trying to controlling you. He try to control his physical reality so much because he wants you to be disconnected with nature and everything around you, and then tell you that he owns women and children. He can do whatever he want. You see what's going on now over there with the PDF stuff. What you think they telling you with that? I'm beyond, I don't know how you feel, ladies. I don't know how you feel, but I'm enraged by that. Y'all keep letting this stuff go on and putting that on the back burner, when if it wasn't for women and children, you wouldn't have a damn country. But you're gonna make it seem like that is not important for you to endure. Somebody should have been and pulled that raggedy person down and talk to them and get them together. That is not happening. That's frightening for women and children. That means things can happen to you and you will be ignored. This is being normalized. No, I don't want to hear anything that you have to say, sir. If you're not going to say it, and don't tell women how to be, if you're not going to be getting raggedy people together, your friends, whoever they is, men, get them together. That's why we don't want to be bothered with you, a lot of us, because we know about all the raggedy stuff. Don't get mad at us because there's many of y'all doing raggedy stuff. So now we just you know, a lot of women are tired. We're just like, no, we opt out. We don't want that. Don't nobody want a whole bunch of men that's jealous of them that want to be women. That's what's happening. Y'all want to be women. Y'all really want to be women. You don't even know that you want to be a woman. And if that's what you want, we might as well be with each other. If that's what you want. Y'all love to worship each other. Okay, you want to be like us. You're so jealous of us. All this, when you're looking at the records, when I see something women, and I know we have been told, oh, the other nations copy us. Yeah, they do. They do. They do copy us. But if you look at the magnitude of how many men copy the black woman, it knocks your socks off. What's funny? Why you copying us? Why you want to dress like us and talk about us? We are the most mocked, fun. What's funny? Yeah, that do they try to act like people of color, other nations? Yes, but not as much as people try to act like the black woman. Sit with that. Let that simmer. Let that cook for a minute. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever noticed that? Sit with that for a minute. Okay, you think it ain't about you? It's all about you. Better get your head out the sand and be paying attention to what's going on around you. Because this is what's happening around us. And I believe in my heart that women are going to experience something like this again with the way things are going. I really do. And this has happened to us several times when we've tried to wake up and separate ourselves from these parasitic behaviors. These men have went in and forced us, women and children, forced themselves upon us to keep this civilization going on. They are putting people in physical bodies and torturing them. They are doing that. We're not doing that. You're saying we're doing that. You're forcing souls in this world so you can do all types. It's supposed to be a beautiful thing. A life supposed to be a beautiful thing, but you done made that raggedy with capitalism and your greed and the raggedy stuff that you do. It's supposed to be a beautiful thing. We scared to bring children in the world because you done made again the physical reality, this experience for a lot of us so raggedy. So who want to bring a child in the world and all this stuff? And then not only did you make it raggedy, you said I'm gonna make it raggedy, and then I'm gonna make you have these children in my raggedy world so I can torture them and do all types of unimaginable things to them, and then deny that it's going on. Ain't this what's happening now? Ain't this what we got going on now? If it was a devil or a Satan, we've been looking at him for over 10,000 years. We've been looking at the ops and the adversary working through the XY chromosome that has brought destruction upon women and children. He is the demon and the devil that he is scaring everybody else about because you was the only one wreaking havoc on this planet, talking about pushing buttons and hurting folks. The very thing you saying that we should be frightened of, you are the number one predator of women and children. Every time I turn around, somebody is telling us something that you did to somebody, most of you. I ain't gotta lie. You go look at the statistical information, who's doing who to what and to whom. I wish I was making it up. And then you'll gaslight us and tell us, "Oh, you're bitter. It's because of this happened to you." And then it's cause you making it raggedy. Don't blame this on one man. Man, it takes a lot of men to be raggedy for women to get to this point. She have to be seeing a whole bunch of raggedy ass men. What the woman call them? Ballerinas, dusties. It's extremely too many of you. And no, women, you don't have to fight them, because again, they would delete themselves. What I've noticed about all that smack that a lot of them talking, I want you to get better. I would wish for you guys to get better. But some of you said no, we would rather enslave you and oppress you, because the God that we serve wants you in that position. So we will not compromise till we got you in that position. Those, again, they will self-destruct, because the fact of the matter of it, you did all this because you cannot live without women. And that's a fact, Jack. You absolutely cannot live without women. That is your chemical maker. Instead of admitting that and getting in line and bowing down, no, you ain't gonna do that. You're going to try to siphon all our energy and slowly poison us until we wither away. Because if you don't know who you are and you get in a relationship with them and they have this sort of misogynist mindset, that's what's going to happen to you, ladies. And I do not say this to be spread any hate. I say this because it's a matter of fact. I have the experience. I said they would take. A lot of them would take, are parasitic. It's disgusting. They assume you're supposed to be cooking, cleaning, doing all these things for them. A lot of them are programmed with that and they can't get it out. And a lot of us been programmed that I love to do this for my man. Oh, you love to be a slave? You love to be his maid? You love to be his mommy? You love to be that? But yet he shares no emotional intimacy with you. The only emotional intimacy that he shares is with his friends, because he is emotionally gay. He don't really like you like that. Let's just be real, because they have set up psychological, again, programming for them to love each other. And then they wonder why, too, why they are attracted to men. I'm not saying that's the case with all of them, but I'm saying that's what you've been programmed to. Is when you start bowing down praying to a man and you start to try to impress a man, but you want to be a woman. You jealous of a woman, but you want to impress a man. What you think gonna happen? They messing with your whole sight, and you won't sit down long enough to try to get yourself together. And it's not women's jobs to try to fix you or to put up with your stuff. And as women, we begin to shift and get back our sovereignty. You're going to see these laws and regulations and all this crazy stuff kick up, directed towards you. And you also see as well, I don't know if they've been talking about it, our palm colored sisters, you're seeing the divorce rate go up, because now a lot of them looking at it and say, oh, this is the monster, because the monster that's the leader over there now has waken up the other monsters that the other women are, again, our palm colored sisters couldn't see. So a lot of them divorcing them. So that birth rate number is going to go down more and more and more. What they're going to do, nobody's going to be giving away nookie. Nobody's to run these countries. They're not going to have any worker bees. What you think they're going to do? It's coming. And I know you're saying, Miss Penny, this stuff is not relevant. It's not happening. I wrote my book 10 years ago, Matriarch the Patriarch. No one was talking about it. Now this is happening. Now we got all these women out. Again, Shira Seven, Priscilla the Queenmaker, uh, Yunti. I can go on and on and on. They all got their own strategies and methods on trying to educate women about the psychology of these men and their behavior. They've been talking about the experience. Do I agree with all their methods? Everything they say? No. But what I do agree that we are on to something with our experience with the XY chromosome and the way he thinks. And we better get it in our heads, because this is the mistake that we keep making and passing this on to the second generation. And a lot of them are having these children with men that are broken. And then we're having broken children as well. They don't understand what's going on. We really gonna have to change this. And it's our responsibility as women to heal it. I think we're doing it now by walking away and trying to really practice self-love and learn who we are. A lot of us are doing it, but there's a lot of us that's not doing it. And many of you seen the woman sitting in the church. She told that man asked for $2,000, and the woman, she had $1,200. This is probably single. She probably doing everything by herself, and he ridiculed her in front of that church. All that sassiness and the audacity to me. This is what we've come to. And then you got some women brainwashed in that, in a lot of that. They believe a lot of that stuff. Not for a moment did they question anything into that. They are totally brainwashed. Those women are dangerous as well. You have some women that are dangerous, that they have bought into uh this stuff, and they can be dangerous because they cater to men. They want men validation and acknowledgement. This is what we're dealing with now. Anyone want to chime in and say, no, Miss Penny, that's not what we're dealing with. That's not happening. You're making this up. Am I making this up? I will wait for someone to say, Miss Penny, you're making this up. This is not happening. I'm fear mongering. And Lord knows I don't want to fear monger. Lord knows I don't want to come here and talk about this subject. Even when I wrote my book a few years ago, I said, "Great mother, they're not ready for this. Nobody talking about this. They're gonna think I'm hurt. I'm fear mongering." She said, "Okay, we'll put it on the shelf and talk about it later." And here I go, almost 10 years later. My book is very relevant now. It is the medicine that for women to help them understand who they are. And now it's very relevant. Now I'm here talking again after the election, and all this rigmarole, which I told you he was gonna do some things to make some head rolls. Now I'm back. You seen it. What are you doing for yourself? How are you taking care of yourself? How are you educating yourself? Are you walking away from, the madness? Because that's what it's going to take. This erasure was not accidental. It follows a familiar patriarchal pattern. Women originate knowledge. Men are the credited for the authorship. The Hermetic corpus is a textbook example of this process. The texts are attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, yet their structure is instructional, initiatory, archival functions aligned with Sesha's priestess. Even within the virgin of the world, the knowledge is not delivered by Hermes or Thoth, but by Isis. They still got to keep that there. He still has to keep that there in that initiation thing. They can't change that, because that why? Because that was the original ritual set up here. That was the divine order things. A lot of things they cannot change. That's why, like I've told you, why they dress the way they dress, why they do the things they do. Even in the Abrahamic religion, they have to admit at the center of that is the divine feminine. That's why they cannot get rid of Mary. They tried to get rid of Mary. Oh, they tried. You got some people in that Catholic Church that only pray to Mary. They don't bow to Jesus or anything else. They pray to Mary because a lot of them still remember the old ancient ways. and the church would be shut down. Wouldn't be no members in there if they didn't keep Mary in there. A lot of people would have been walked away from that. You see echoes of it in the church. That's why you have him. A lot of the popes, they're gonna bow down to the Black Madonna. They're gonna bow down to the Black Mary. They're gonna bow down to the first Black cosmic mother. She is the original cosmic being and the spiritual divine authority on the planet. You can say that he getting all his power and stuff from Jesus and Paul. These stories that they made up about these men, which we're gonna talk about then as soon as I can. That's gonna be a heated topic, so you probably want to be here for that. They can talk, say that they're getting there for that, but no, you're not. Let's be for real. I've read your occult science book. I know where you get everything from. The Jesus story and all that is a mimic of our priestesshood. I'll let y'all copy that. Isn't that something? You copy it. It's just when you understand how much they copy. I mean, nothing they have is original. Nothing they have originated from them. You see how creative you are and how much power you have. Philosophy, mathematics, writing, nothing. They didn't create speech, none of that. It's alarming. I mean, it's just a different level for me, when you find out that pale faced people stole a lot of people from us and we invented a lot of things. But it's always shocking, also shocking when you discover that women made so many things, contributed to civilization itself, and men have put themselves in front of that. Like, wasn't no woman there, wasn't no mama there, didn't nobody teach them, didn't nobody feed them, didn't nobody protect them. Like, they woke up being protectors and smart people and stuff like that. This is how they generate their stories now, even when they present themselves. You know, it's like it didn't start with a woman. These men are a trip. And if you bring that up, it's like they despise a woman. How dare you bring her up and let her, soak up any of my light? This is how they act. I'm not making this stuff up. You see it with your own self. It hurts them to give women any kind of accolades, or they hate women that have any type of power and know who she is. But that is really what is needed to get them back in place. You really have to quench it, turn off all your waters. I mean, that story of Oshun was exactly about that. Go read that story. I mean, listen to that story about that Odu, how all these men that were God. This is true. This is what actually happened. They thought they can create earth without water, and everything withered up and died. That's what's happening up now. That's what really needs to happen now. Withhold the water and watch everything wither up and die. Watch everything wither up when no soul come through. Everything you have will crumble. You can't be the ruler of nothing if you ain't got no people to rule. If no people is coming through, your company ain't gonna work, your business ain't gonna work, ain't none of this ain't gonna work if you ain't got no people in here. And who bringing the people in here? Oh, it's coming from your rib. Oh, it's coming from your rib. Because I want the religion. There y'all go. Is it coming from your rib, sir? Because that's how you gonna have them. Because the great mother is gonna wake us up. Go shut this down. You can't stop it. It's gonna be in us. Women, you're gonna be doing it. Because you more and more you're gonna see the real face. And I know you got uncles, you got brothers, some of us, you got fathers. Yeah, it is, I don't like it either. But you're gonna get a chance to see what's what. And if they really, again, who they really are. You get a chance to see who they really are. You get a chance to really see. Some of the women been brainwashed with the sickness, and some women are waking up. But we're getting to that point right now of who's who. And I recommend that you wake on up. But it's gonna happen. Great mother will, the tables will turn. You will not, men will not be, your world will be destroyed, as you call. You will not be, ain't nobody got to pick up nothing, do anything to you, because you're going to do it yourself. And the divine feminine will be back in her natural place, with or without your help. Because people are tired of you messing up. And it ain't so much about the pale face men doing it. I'm sick of all you men doing crazy stuff. I don't even know why you would think that you have the capacity to rule a nation or a country. Some of you can't even rule, you can't even run a household. You can't even multitask. So why would you think that you can run a It's just crazy. You care about material things, capitalism. That is the word that you created. You think people are property and things like that. You have no maternal, none of that. But y'all talk about this nutrient nutrient loving God. But honey, the only God I see is this God of war y'all done created. Your ego. You are not going to be able to stop this. Now you could believe that, oh, you got more muscles than us and you more raggedy than us, because you is. Some of y'all is raggedy. You are more, whatever. That's really gonna mess you up. That's the very thing that's gonna mess you up. And you think you're gonna be able to use that brute force upon women and hurt women and children, you're really gonna be self-destructive. You're really gonna hurt yourself. All this aggression that you got on you, you got to remember you are of us. That right there is gonna shut you down. Because without our genetics, you wouldn't be here. You're not going to be able to stop the rise of the divine feminine. It is nowhere around it. It is written in the cosmic ethers. You cannot change that. You can try to fight it as much as you want to, but your time is up. Your world is ending as you know it, and women will be ruling again. I said it. You can be mad about that. You can beat your chest. You can think that you're strong. That I ain't gonna be no wonder, sir. Yes, you will. You will be bowing at some point. You will be bowing down to her. And I know you saying, I can't see that. I can't see that. Oh yeah, you gonna see it. This thing is gonna go beyond race. It's people are sick of the XY chromosome. You have proven that you cannot do it. You have already lost. You did that during this election. You showed women, all of us collectively, how you felt about us. And if we are smart, we are getting our economic power and structure together. And if we are smart, we are coming up with our own way of doing things without participating in something that you made that is raggedy. And if we are smart, we will keep our children away from you. We will bring them back in a relationship with nature and divine order. Because all you teach is raggedy stuff. Got these children all confused. You lure them into your jobs, your organizations, and you commit all sorts of atrocities against them. The record labels, the music, you everything that was divine feminine, you corrupted that and you used that to hurt women and children. Because the arts and stuff, the creativity belonged to the women. Now you went up in there and you made that raggedy. Oh yeah, the divine feminine. You will bow. And I know a lot of you thinking you're so powerful. Just like they said that this God was. I am the only God. I'm the jealous God. Y'all have that type of mentality. You know a man wrote that just by saying that, okay? You think that's not gonna happen. Oh, you gonna do it, or you gonna go crazy. You gonna self-delete. A lot of y'all self-deleting now. And you were not made, you were meant to serve the XX chromosome. And you came up with this idea in your little mind because you were strong that you should rule something. You didn't take into the fact that very you're not very smart, because everything you learn, you had to learn it from us. And you grasp just a little bit of that, a little, because it's not much. Because you sit up in there, as you see them now, you got people doing podcasts, and some of these men ain't got a lick of sense. You wonder why they got a damn podcast, because nothing is there. And because you strong and the world has given y'all a head start, you need a head start in able to get acknowledgement of validation. Because if some of you, if the world hadn't gave you a head start of acknowledging and validation, women wouldn't pay attention to you. They work hard to make y'all relevant through all these romance shows and songs and stuff like that. Because really, if we didn't have this, nobody would really be trying to do anything with you. They got to sprinkle some sugar on some crap to make it look good, because that's what's going on there. We're in love with the fantasy. This fantasy that they created for us, and we supposed to be in these relationships with these knights and shining armor, and we know damn well there's not many of them like that around here. They don't allow them to have that in them. They just as ragged as it be. Some of you are in the relationships now. You think it's me. It's me. It's because no. It's because something is wrong with him. Ain't shit. There's nothing wrong with you. He don't come home at night. He's not doing his part. He can't keep a job. He keep cheating. It's nothing wrong with you. You can keep on trying to fix yourself and adjust yourself to him. There's nothing wrong with you. It is the programming in his mind that's messing up your life. That's all you're going to get. He's going to fake you, give you a fake person, mirror you when he knows that you've made an emotional attachment or connection with him. That is going to stop. This is how they've been programmed to manipulate women. And then when you bring up what's going on with him, it's your fault why he do raggedy shit. And now you're confused. You're confused because he's gaslighting you. This is you're gonna destroy yourself. Women have destroyed themselves mentally and spiritually, messing with these men. That's what's gonna happen to you. That's what's gonna happen to you if you keep on with this. Your little mind they got you thinking, oh, it's the love and all that. They not you. They not like us. Get that in through your mind. Your love and his love is different. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You loved him. You did whatever you needed to do right by him. There's no reciprocate. There's nothing wrong with you. Get yourself away from somebody who is raggedy as hell, that's jealous of you, that want to be you. Auntie ain't lying to you. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made. They will have you throwing away your dreams, inspirations, and all that stuff because their ass is raggedy. And they want you to be raggedy with them. Some of them want you, they're comfortable with you being raggedy with them, okay? Ain't nothing wrong with you. You can want to be the best. You can invest He can see all that. That's good qualities. He want that, but yet he's jealous of that. And some of them will hurt you because you are that. He knows that you the shit. He know that. That's the reason why he got with you, but he can't stand you because he know you the shit. They already know this. This is no secret. Now, some of you are having problems with these relationships right now. I know, been there, done that. He ain't gonna change while you with them. The only time he's gonna change is when you walk away and you change. Maybe then, and that's a slim chance. Not many of them go to therapy and try to fix themselves. Look at the statistical rate for that when it comes to women going in and going into counseling and things like that. Look at the statistical rates for men that really go through um counseling and all that stuff, marriage counseling. That percentage rate ain't very high, especially men of color. You got them now. They got the passport bras. My thing to that, and I have to tell the women that go globally, and this is just for my community. I'm speaking for my community, and I'm sure I'm sure that palm color women can attest to this too, because you even have them going out getting these women for other countries. My thing to you is them women don't know you raggedy, and believe me, if they're smart, they're making you pay. It ain't for free. You gonna take care of them. They don't know you like we do, but no matter where you go, you still gonna be raggedy. And if she's smart, she's not gonna let you destroy her life. Hopefully, she's extracting your energy before you try to extract hers. You can go on and go and try to marry these women, in these other areas, but usually many of you are paying. It's transactional. Very smart women. A lot of them are very smart. And it's a little cheaper for you depending on which country that you go to. It may be a little cheaper, but it doesn't matter. And my thing with that too, you guys complain about paying, but we've already covered that in our community. You've been paying from the beginning of time. You've always paid. You will always pay. So I don't understand what y'all talking about. I'm not giving her no money. You will always give us money. In fact, money won't flow to you. You won't get no money or anything like that if you ain't giving us money. You've always paid, sir. That's why I don't understand when they be, you got me to pay, sir. You have always paid. What are you talking about? We've never given you anything for free. Y'all made this stuff up, and then when you got to pay, you want to complain. Why would you want this for free? We're up there with precious golds and metals and diamonds and stuff, and you want us to give you something for free? Sir, you've always paid. I had to show my ladies this. We had to go back and look at the Kadesh temples and how the temples were set up and how men sexuality was spiritual. Spiritual and sexuality was not different. That's why you got them. They corrupted the tantric arts and they doing all kinds of stuff to women and children because they took out these priestesses that knew how to do that type of work correctly. They would go there and have to pay for these sort of rituals. You've been paying, sir. You've been paying. It's always been that way. These new generational with these 2.0 men, I don't know what the hell to call them. Ballerinas. I'm gonna go with the other one. What she call them? Ballerinas, wannabes. It's y'all seem to can't compute. I don't know what's wrong with you. I guess the programming got changed to more. I don't know what's wrong with you, but you've been paying. You've never not paid. You always paid. Even when y'all was ragged and had to give up y'all whole paycheck in the 30s and 40s, you understood, a lot of y'all, you had to pay. What's wrong with you? That is not, that right there never changed. Real men understand this. Real men don't have a problem with handing over that check, that money. They don't have a problem with that. They have a problem at all with that because they know what they're getting. They know what they're getting. That is the main thing to me that really shocks me. But the divine feminine will rise again, and you could think that you are tough. You could think you can let your strength, but it don't make any sense to have strength and don't ain't smart. That's what a lot of you guys have. You got a lot of strength, but you're not very smart. That's why somebody can rule you. That's why y'all can rule and tell each other what to do. You're not very smart at all. You come to this point, and y'all made this mistake before. We're gonna treat women raggedy, but we also need their wounds. And when they start waking up again, we're gonna force ourselves with them and abuse women and children, and quite naturally unalive a lot of them. And who usually survived that was the children, because the older women, the crowns that we knew, y'all got rid of us. The aunties, y'all call us bitter. That's the program. We're bitter women and all that stuff. And we trying to wake up this young generation and tell them, hey, don't do this because these men raggedy. A lot of them raggedy. They get together and they infect each other with their misogynistic behaviors. A lot of them are being groomed to be narcissists. You're being groomed to be classical narcissists. Because the God that they serve is a narcissist. The God that they created and set up for themselves is a narcissist. That's why you have a high percentage of narcissism in a lot of these relationships, and you'll see a lot of that in men. They are working with dark psychology to keep the cosmic being oppressed and suppressed. And they talk about this a lot. If you read the book, The Great Cosmic Mother, a lot of these psychologists like Jungian and Jungian and Freud, they already talked about how they suppress the psyche of the divine feminine and how they suppress it within themselves. A part of them. This is crazy when you look at that, because see, they have studied us. That's why they were able to take over the way they have. A lot of them suppress the divine feminine archetype within their own consciousness. But yet, in order to experience in spiritual enlightenment, they have to learn to embrace it. And a lot of them don't want to do that because that means that you will have to bow down and acknowledge the divine feminine, and you will have to change your relationship the way you see women, and you don't want to do that because that threatens your ego and power. Is all of them like that? No. But I'm telling you who most of them going to be like that. The preachers in the pulpits, and maybe some, maybe a lot of the Freemasons. That's a lot of them. I have to be careful how I talk about it because my video got taken down one time I talked about that. But this is the fact. This is what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with the end of his world. Okay? That ain't no, if it was a devil or a Satan or whatever, he would be it. He would be the embodiment of that devil. The XY chromosome be the example of that. He doesn't want you to be connected with nature. He doesn't want the divine feminine to rule. He wants materialism. his powers in materialism, this fake stuff that he has made up in this physical reality, and declared himself as God. That's what's happening here. All this is about suppressing the real, again, the true divine feminine essence on this planet. It is not masculine at all. There is no such thing. I tell this to women. There is no such thing as no divine masculine. That's the problem there, that was made up. There's no such thing as that. He comes from the feminine. He must understand that. Okay? And see, that's what made him mad. That's why he had to make a religion. When he found out that, hey, you cannot be divine, uh, a cosmic being, because of the way this planet is set up, the way we interface with our bodies and all that. You can't be there, but you can definitely learn our sciences and practice our science, but you could never just really embody this. Pissed him off. Yeah, that pissed him off. But I gotta always spend my money with you. I can't learn anything about my sexuality, anything. I have to always come to her about everything. You think they like that? I got to spend my money and all that. The jealousy overcame them. They're not gonna let you say that, but you seeing it every day. Every time you do something, you flex and you doing something. He hating on you. That's an old ancient. That is an old ancient wound. They won't ask themselves why I feel like this. They'll only act out. They knew this. That's why they changed that in a way to make women feel like that they were evil if they had any type of spiritual connection with God. That's why they outlawed the witches and all that sort of stuff, because he wanted to have all that, he wanted to be the only one. They don't keep you suppressed and all that stuff because you're powerless, and women, we didn't bought into that. They keep you away from that because you are powerful, and they know you'll shut them down. They want us competing with each other, competing for their attention and all that. And some of them ain't worth the honey. They're not worth nothing. But yet they have women competing and stuff for them when it's supposed to be the other way around. They supposed to be competing for us. We're the prize. We're not supposed to be getting dressed up in glamour and all that stuff now. It's supposed to be the other way around. They got women fighting with each other about them. And it's really sick because you're fighting over inferior species. He's an inferior species. I remember say that when I was in high school. Yes, Nova Queen. I wouldn't. Why are we doing this fighting over spirit? Oh, I heard that, Miss Penny. There's only divine feminine. Yes, it is. It's it. There is no masculine there. They can try to talk that stuff. That's why they had that. They can only go to Thoth. They can go to Hermes. But you, beloved, you can go all the way back to Isis. In fact, their rituals and rites don't work without including divine feminine, and they will try to hide that. Okay, I went over this with you so many times. They will try to hide this from you, and then I'll take you right in there to the resources so you can see it. They'll try to skip past that in their conversation. Yeah, yeah, the woman is God, but then they go right on to stroking their ego. Sit down, sir, and be quiet. You should not be talking to anybody about spirituality. I can't even listen to them when they talk about spiritual sciences. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Be quiet. I don't want you to talk about anything. If it's not coming from a woman, coming articulated from a woman, I don't want to hear it from coming from a man. And if it is coming from a man, y'all need to be talking to each other, because y'all tend to respect each other's, you know, when y'all talk to each other. Don't talk to women about what women should be doing about humanity and spirituality. You're out of line for that. You have no authority or sovereignty over morality, spirituality. anything like humanity, you have no authority on that. Don't talk about it. It trips me out. They feel very comfortable with talking about stuff and don't they don't respect women and they don't have children, but they feel very comfortable with giving women advice and telling women how to be women. It's crazy. But you don't see too many women sitting up here talking about men and telling them how to be men and all this kind of stuff. You have more men. Like, what is your obsession? Yeah, you can say that palm colored people and other people are upset obsessed with black people. But I look at this again, you have people, period, obsessed with black women or women in general. These men are obsessed with women. I don't think I think they got more podcasts and conversations about women and how women should be than women have about men. I completely agree. They need to focus on their attention on other men and not women. They do. They need to focus on men. Stop telling women. Stop giving women advice. Just like the guy, Derek Jackson. I gotta hold my head because of this. I have to hold my head. You know, and then I gotta hold your hand when I tell you this. Stop following these raggedy men, sisters. When you are doing this, you become an enemy and you become a risk to other women when you pandering after men like that. That man totally destroyed his wife spiritually and mentally. You saw how she looked after she got with that man, and she's still trying to get herself together. That is the damage that they can do to you. That is the damage that they can do. So we have to be very careful. These are not just relationships. Uh, you're thinking, "Oh, I'm just dating him. It's a relationship." No, when you let them in there like that, again, he is a predator. He has predatory behavior, whether he wants to acknowledge that or not. You need to know that about him. He is a predator. He wants to rule. He wants dominion over you. He is jealous of you. You got things, you do things he cannot do. He not gonna tell you that he's jealous of you. You just gonna see these crazy ass behaviors, and you gonna be wondering what's wrong with you. You call him out, he gonna blame it on you. You gonna think you crazy. You are not crazy. You're dealing with somebody who don't want to look at themselves. They don't want no accountability. You're seeing it. And I feel sorry, my heart goes, is with the younger generation because you're inheriting a whole bunch of garbage. That's what you're getting here. I'm telling you, beloved. And I'm telling you. And then you have some mothers, they they enable some of these men behavior because a lot of them is crazy too. We have a lot to impact. The cosmic being has a lot to impact, and then we have to look at how we have relationships with this inferior species. Are males identified? Are male identified? Ask that question again. I don't think I understand that question right, Nova Queen. Ask it again. Maybe I'm not understanding. Are male in? But they don't want to admit that. But all this sexuality, and we'll be going into this again. I thought I talked about it a little bit in our community, but we're going to talk about it again. How this sexuality, they want to even be over that. This is why it's corrupted. This is how the tantric arts, because women knew the tantric arts. They knew how how to open up the kundalini energy and awaken again your ashe within you. They knew how to do this. There were women in temple. Sexuality and spirituality, it was one the same, it was not separated. And this is one of the problems. And so when they went in there and did that, because they don't understand the science, men don't know anything about what makes a woman feel good. A woman has to teach her that she's the God. He has to learn how to worship and praise her. Even this is even in the bedroom. This is about worship. And when she's pleasure and pleased, he's pleasure and pleased in ways he didn't think that he can experience. These women were experts at this. But now you got them bringing it up into occultism, and they're using it for their own sadistic behaviors, animalistic behavior. Remember, he is an extension of us. He don't know anything about this. We have to teach him about this energy that flows through him and how to work with it. And so a lot of them corrupted that. But we're going to go into that a little bit further when we go into we're going to talk about sex magic and where it comes from and how it's used in the occult and how they've been using it against us. I talked a little bit about in our community when we talked about the Kadesh temples, but we're going to go more into it because it is a divine feminine act. That's why a lot of them, they don't want you to be experienced in that. Because if you was experienced in that, you'll know a lot of stuff that he doing is not right. It's raggedy. That's why I have had so many of my family members, and I've talked to other women that do not feel anything when they engage with them like that. I've had talked with I just wanted to feel something. I wasn't feeling nothing with them. He was getting satisfied, but I wasn't getting satisfied. He's cutting off when he cannot satisfy you and you're not getting there. Uh, again, it's pointless. It's pointless. Okay, it's absolutely pointless because that's not even supposed to be like that. If you're dealing, and that's why a lot of them don't want you to be experienced because if you experience, you know that that's not supposed to be like that. They have corrupted that science. They're not even supposed to be in. You seeing it that play out in different things, uh, the porno and all this other graphic images and stuff like that. You're seeing it play out in different images. But if it was under the control of women, you wouldn't see as much pedophilia and using uh sex as a power play. They took that and disrupted it. That's what you're seeing with all that stuff with the PDF stuff. They could they again corrupted that science when it got in men's hands. It's never to be meant to be a masculine thing. It was meant to the pleasure of the divine feminine. And the better they're at doing that, doing it right and respecting the divine feminine, the better their life become. The more you please God, the better you are to God, the more blessings flow through. Women, you are the God. Okay, but see, he's so brainwashed. Again, you're so brainwashed. They don't know that. That's why you'll see a lot of them. They'll have a good girl at home or whatever, but yet they like the most sexually experienced woman. Why? Because she knows what she doing. That's really what he needs. That's really what he needs. They talk about, these promiscuous women that are, I would like to call them more sensual. Uh, they know what they're doing. They talk about these women, but they can't help but be with them because they know what they're doing. Just like we see, what is her name? Corinne Stephan, nicknamed Superhead. They talk about her. Oh, we hate her. But honey, I bet her money stacked up high. She ain't got no problem keeping no man because she know what she doing. And she got a high body count. Ain't nobody talking about her body count. They keep coming. Okay, so it is them. They don't like that because why? Your sexuality is power over them. We were using to have power over them. We knew how to use it. They start using the phallic as a weapon. because they know your yoni has power. They know that. It is the same power it has. Just shut it off and see what happens. Cut the yoni off and see what happened to men. It's the reason why they don't want to be on the planet by themselves. Shut the yoni off, cut off the sweet waters, and see what happens. You think you can't get them right? You can get them right. They have to do that, because if they don't, again, they have to have that. They had built that up there like that. That's why you hear it in their Bible. You hear them say, "He that find a wife find a good thing." It doesn't say, "He that find a husband find a she that find a husband find a good thing." That doesn't say that in any of their writings. Do it? They let you know right from the start that you are the gold. You are the treasure. They said it in their own book. He that find a wife find a good thing. And matter of fact, they prefer to have 4 or 5 wives. This is somebody that has a poor energy source that needs the XY chromosome. They cannot exist without her. Another thing we have to look at too, being in relationships with them, we'll have to really look at monogamy. I'm not. I don't firmly believe that we're meant to be in long-term relationships with them. I think that we're supposed to be in agreements with them, limit what I want to say, cycle seasonal agreements with them, but lifetime agreements such as marriage and contracts, I don't believe in that. And I say that because of experience. I don't think we meant to be with them like that. And having babies with them, it used to be a time if they wanted a baby, you would have to invest before a woman would have a child for you. Yeah, but set up that way, especially if they wanted a boy child for their heir. We really have to rethink. I'm not saying that we know everything, but now's the time to step back and redefine how we interact with them. We not only that, we suffer when we are. That's why I can't see me having children or getting. We do. Your life is at risk every time you come in contact with him. Your life expectancy goes down every time you come into contact with the XY chromosome. You jeopardize your life every time you're in contact with him. I'm not making this up. You go look at the statistics. I'm not man bashing her or anything. And even if they were to get mad, I have to show that. Well, sir, don't get mad at me. Go look at the numbers. Do you trust every man? Do you trust men? Would you be want to be on a planet with nothing with men? No, you won't. So stop sitting here acting like women saying something wrong, because we are again aware of what's going on. Stop telling us we bitter, we're man hating and all that, when we're literally watching you do raggedy stuff. We're literally watching the statistical numbers and the impact that you have on women and children. We're currently watching that. Nobody's making this up. Nobody is fear mongering. You're actually doing this in real freaking time. And then you'll say we're not all like that at the same time we're watching your friend do abusive stuff to women and children and not checking them. A lot of people is opting into marrying a woman. I even questioned myself. I was like, did I ever? I think I invested my time with trying to be with men. I probably should have been gay. I had plenty of people ask me, "Are you gay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not gay. You got this vibe." I'm like, "What vibe? What vibe?" That's what we're dealing with, ladies. And if you don't understand this, and I'm kind of proud of the younger generations, they got it. I had to learn from a boomer, and I got it at the last, at the kind of at the last end. It's important that you understand who you're dealing with. Stop, look at the behavior. I had to do that with my father. I had to do that with my uncles. I had to do that with my cousins. They had the behaviors. Did I love them? Yeah, but they was raggedy. They did raggedy stuff to people, to women. I didn't like. I look at my grandfather, raggedy, raggedy. But that's my grandfather. He raggedy. But the stuff that he put my grandmother through, and my grandmother wasn't even here. They had what, 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls, and yet he is still here, being preserved by his second wife. We don't have any children by him, but he sucked the life. My grandmother had all those children by him, and she is not here. So it will mess with your life expectancy. So we aren't meant to be in long-term contracts with men. We're not. These are supposed to be short-term agreements with them. I'm a firm believer that women need to have a community. If she's going to be having children with him, she needs to be in a community that support her in raising those children. There needs to be some type of agreement or contract going on with them, but not a long term, you my wife, I own you for the rest of my life, you my husband. No. He don't got that in him. He's already proven that. A lot of them prove they don't got that in them. That you would have to be more transactional with them because something is wrong with him. He understands transactions. He's letting you understand, helping you understand too, that he's emotionally incompetent in a lot of areas. He lacks empathy for women and children. Until he can get that right and get programmed right, that's the way you will have to deal with him. That's right there. I see control with my male family members too. I said no. Okay. You got to understand you have to be transactional with him. And a lot of them say they don't like that. I dealt with that with the guy I was dating. I wouldn't even say I was dating. I was just like, hey, you ain't rolling up on me if you ain't got no cash. Just this simple, player. You know, I was young. He's like, I can go somewhere else and be with them and I don't have to give them anything. I said, well, go be with them. It must not be good then. Okay. Something free can't be good and something good ain't free. So what you gonna do? Okay. Drop the cash every time. This ain't about love here. This is a transaction. And without the transaction, nothing is happening. Now, if you like where you was before, go where you was before, player. You have to be like this with them. What he do? Drop the cash. They're gonna drop it every time because that's how they think. And I'm telling you, this is some old game. This is old game. Probably shouldn't be giving it to you. But like I said, they've been paying. They've never not paid. They always pay. Even when you go into other cultures, some of these fathers say we want 10 cows and 5 horses and all this stuff. You've always paid. We got to get you back used to that. Especially if you ain't gonna fix yourself and you're gonna jeopardize women in mind, body, and spirit every time they come with you. We have to have some insurance because we already know the kind of damage that you can do just with your presence. Because you say you're strong, you like to destroy things. Well, you need to put your money where your mouth is. You already know you're a risk anytime somebody come in contact with you. I know you don't want to hear it, but we have to say it this way because they are. It is what it is. Do I like saying this? No. I know a lot of people gonna think it's hate, it's man bashing and things like that, but it's not. Okay. Let me move on here. I'm gonna finish this up. I learned that young. I was 16 and he was older when he tried. See? This matters deeply when we speak of ritual invocation today. If Hermetic writings are treated as domain of male occultists and secret societies, women appear as outsiders reclaiming something foreign. They want it to look like that to you. That's why I recommend all women start looking at these rituals. Start looking at how they have this stuff set up. Start looking at the spiritual sciences more closely. I think the practicing witches or wiccas, they've already figured this out. If you're a black witch or if you're a witch or whatever, that you probably have already figured this out. It's all coming from women. It's nothing it's mind-boggling. I know it is. That's why I had to write the book Matriarch the Patriarch to kind of really inform you about it. Everything that you pick up that they write, if it's about spirituality or humanity, it comes from women. It ain't nothing that you put up with from creativity to drawing to music to planting seed to spirituality to healing. All comes from women. This first protector, all comes from women. It's mine when you put the lies. You think there's been some lies with the whitewashing. No, there's been some lies with the gender washing. It will blow your mind. And all of them collectively agreed to do this to women, no matter how you look. They all agreed to do women this way. And this is another reason why I let us listen to Manly P. Hall. I talked about Manly P. Hall lecture about the divine feminine and masculine. And in his lecture, he was pleading for women to share power with the XY chromosome. I firmly disagree. Do not ever do that. He's already showed he's incompetent of handling that type of science and power. He's already proven that he will corrupt it and that he will use it against humanity. They're doing the very thing right now. They wanted that's what I did. They had a divine masculine, divine feminine. There is no such thing as that. Sir, you come from me. Everything, all the knowledge, all the spiritual cosmic knowledge and sciences is imprinted in my DNA, sir. You made that up to be relevant to the spiritual sciences of humanity that originally come from women. Every speech, every human is coming from the black woman. Let's just cut it out. They didn't like that. Okay, that's what happened there. They did not like that, so they took that over. Can you imagine that? And then went into the temples again, the spiritual sexual temples that we had there, the tantra temples, let me put it like that. And you went in and corrupted that and made that prostitution and made that something ugly. And there we got, instead of learning it the right way, you have corrupted that with the trafficking of women and children. You have corrupted that whole science. And now y'all up in there in your cult in secret organizations, you're practicing sodomy. That's just how much you hate yourself and how much disdain you have for the XX chromosome. No, I see nothing wrong with being gay. but I do see something wrong that you would corrupt the science in such a way because you hate women. You are jealous of women. That's what you have here. You've got so much sodomy going on. You did this in Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay? The folks had to leave that area, and what did they do? Run to Egypt. Every time they ran to Egypt, run to the matriarchs every time. Y'all tried that over there. What happened? You start hurting each other, forcing yourself up on each other. The same way you doing with the little boy who got kidnapped by all these men, and they did all types of things to him. I think the boy was young, he was a teenager, seemed like. With the dancing boys and all this sort of stuff. This is what you do. You pervert stuff instead of doing it the right way, and then put women. You got women that's married to some of these men that go out to this stuff because you're in love again. I can't even put it into words, Lord. I don't have the words for it. You corrupted that and made that ugly. Like I said, it's gonna have to be a total reset with them. It's too many, and I don't mean to be ugly or hateful, but it's really actually too many. And I know women don't want to hear this because you got sons, you got fathers, you know, you just have to look at it. It's absolutely too many of them on the planet. We know this. This is why we're not having children with them. This is why a lot of us are not in a relationship with them, and there's a epidemic of loneliness among them. We know this. We absolutely know this. That's why we backing back up off them. We're not dating. We're not. We know this. No one had, especially the new generation. Again, it's the coding that's already in us. Some of you are sisters return. You're just returning to set it right. That's what I say. Either way it go, men, you're gonna be bound down to women because we are returning. A lot of these mothers are returning to the new generation, and they come in here to set it right. And you will be bound down to get whether you want to do it willingly or unwilling. It's gonna happen. And the ones that don't do it, you know, you don't want to know how your fate gonna look. Okay, you don't want to know how your fate go look. And the way nature comes up, it will again create any type of germ or whatever, that natural selection, and you'll start again to phase out. You'll again, just like with that COVID thing, I believe that COVID thing was very spiritual. The people that wasn't vibrating at certain frequencies or whatever, uh, they didn't make it during that transition. You're gonna see something like this happen again, and it'd probably be directed at men because of the genetic coding. Mother Nature will correct herself. Women don't have to lay a finger on you. All we got to do is get focused on us and learn who we are, because your own anatomy and biology is going to delete you anytime you try to come against the cosmic being. You're going to self-destruct every time. Don't have to lay a hand on you. You're living in a universe. You're living in up under the cosmic energy right now, the matrix, the divine feminine. Everything in the universe is made of her. Everything. The consciousness, everything. So it would be stupid to try to come against again the God in the flesh. It's not going to work for you. There again, you can't go up against that. And I know you think just because you're strong and you got a few pew pews and you can dominate women. You don't have the intellect and spiritual essence and power of women. You don't have it. You can't have it. You are not more resilient and more powerful than women. You can't even push a baby out. You can't even take a cramp. You couldn't even take labor pains. So I don't know why you would think that you're stronger than a woman. And if a woman really wanted to, she can put the strongest man on his back every time. Y'all know this. You already know this. It's not about strength. It's about wisdom and intellect. And you don't have that. You wasn't born with that. You don't have the wisdom, the intellect, or the type of psychic connection that we have with the universe. All this is connected to our womb, our mind. You do not have that. You had to make up that you was connected with the sun. You had to make up this Jesus and all this stuff to try to mimic the priestesshood of women. All this is made up. It's so sick when you think about it. Y'all been copying us, and then you ain't crazy, honey. You said if you thinking, oh, I think he jealous of me because he acting like he jealous. He and is. I think he trying to be like me. He destiny swapping, and he is. He been destiny swapping. That's what happened here. You gotta think about it. That's what he doing. He been destiny swapping. He trying to copy you. Destiny swap. He want to be you. Damn it! I can't tell you no more. I can't tell you better than that. You ain't crazy. He want to be you. Yeah, he lying and he cheating and he manipulating. That's what he do. All this was built on manipulation and lying. So I don't think why you would think that men don't carry this in them. Everything that they created was built on manipulation and confusion. It was to keep you disconnected. All this started with disconnecting you. They even had psychologists to come in to make sure this stays like this so we can keep on having babies and contributing to this false society so they can have more victims. And the great mother's tired of it. And she said, no, y'all not having no more babies with them. You're not being in no more relationships with them. You're not going to keep on letting them hurt souls. Because that's what you was doing. You want souls to come here and be trapped into your torture. And that's not what this was meant for. Because that's what you're doing. And you can try to stop it if you want to. You can go, you men, you can beat on your chest. You can put another man up there. But I reach out to women and I plead to you. Start your own churches, start your own organization. There should be so many women ruling, again, women churches and spiritual institutions. Spiritual science is taught from a spiritual woman, a feminine perspective. That needs to be dismantled speedily, expeditiously. I'm sick of them sitting up there talking about this crazy God that's doing crazy stuff to people. I'm sick of the men pastors leading folks astray. Should not even be up there. Should not even be up there at all. No, don't have any type of genetic connection to the Most High at all. That's the truth, Jack. Y'all had to make this stuff up, write thousands and thousands of cult books, rewrite the Bible a lot of times, uh, You created a campaign to create and falsify these spiritual sciences to make it look like that you were the center of the universe and you're not. Ignore the whole moon. 13 moons we have. Ignore the whole cosmogenetic link that women have with the cosmos in order to put yourself. It's deranged. It's crazy. That's what has happened. That is what has happened. I don't know how you guys feel, but it just takes it another level, healing from what happened to us in chattel slavery. And then looking at, even though we were in chattel slavery, these men were still being horrible to us and to our grandmothers. We were still being oppressed by our husbands and boyfriends. We were still being treated like chattel slavery by our husbands and boyfriends, even after slavery. You really didn't get free, black woman. He had more freedom than you. Listen to your grandmothers, listen to your great grandmothers, listen to their stories. A lot of them was not married because they wanted to be. Remember, they were forced to breed and have these children to boost the economy. That's what they want now. They want now, they don't want no abortions. They want these, they don't care if the man was sloppy, he ignorant, and he was a, an abuser, an assaulter. If that happens to you, they're gonna force you to have that baby, and they know damn well they raggedy, they personality. Why would you do that to a woman? Why would you want her to have that, traumatize her like that? Y'all don't care. And men voted for this. They don't see nothing wrong with this. Do not trust them. We do not need more leaderships. I do not recommend, especially any government, anything that they have that women do not participate in. And you thought that you going in there and voting for Kamala Harris and all that stuff that was going to change women. You have to come up with your own structure. You have to come up with your own political power. You need to come up with your own spiritual system, your own spiritual organizations. Operate. 'Cause this is what they did to you. This is what they did to you. They went behind your back and started their own little covens. And then they made it against the law for for women to go together and get in their own little special covens, calling you witches and stuff like that. Who you think they was unaliving in that Bible? It certainly wasn't no Christians. It was called for you. The pagans, the heathens, the one that didn't serve this man God that they created up. It was you. That genocide is covered up so carefully, so quietly, so subtly, just like, kind of just like they doing the Epstein stuff. They trying to just like, and folks have to tell their story through the internet, through podcasts and all this stuff. The same thing with women. We don't get no recognition, and then when we do get recognition, people don't pay attention to our story until it coming out of his raggedy mouth. That shouldn't be telling nobody's story because you keep doing raggedy stuff. I'm gonna tell it like it is. I know you don't want to see it. These are hard truths, and I know they're hard. I sat with this when I was writing my book. I sat with this. I said, "This is just so much." I was so angry, and then listening to that again, that divine feminine wisdom come through me, that intuition speak to me. Listening to these mothers' DNA that run through my vein tell me this story, these stories, feeling their anguish, feeling their disappointment, feeling their hurt, feeling their pain. That's the trauma that's passed on to you as a woman. When you start seeing that, when you do the shadow work and you start looking at the relationship you have with these male counterparts, the relationship your mother had with your father or her father. We inherit that, and it's still in your DNA. That's the stuff that we have to unpack. And I'm not compromising. I don't care. Yeah, I can talk about this in such a way, because I did a lot of healing, but I absolutely believe with every fiber of my being that we are not supposed to share any type of power with him. It is dangerous for him to have any type of power. It's like giving a 2-year old a weapon that they have not been properly trained on. We have already seen it. Ain't like we don't know. We already know. And if they were to get any type of power at all, it needs to be highly supervised and limited. Okay? That this I strongly believe that. That is how dangerous he is, because he is lack a whole bunch of knowledge of himself, and he don't want to look at what he really is. And this is gonna happen, man. You can keep saying all these women just talking, that ain't gonna happen. I can't wait till it happen. I don't know if I'll be here to see it, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It ain't no other way. It's got to happen. It's gonna happen, because women are not gonna keep letting you replicate violence upon them. The cosmic being can't let it. This planet is divine feminine, and she is not finna let keep me and keep doing regular stuff to her her daughters or this planet. Not gonna do it. She'll let you self-destruct and you'll lose your mind. You see what happened to Nebuchadnezzar? Had him walking on all fours, acting like an ox. You don't think that can happen to you? I think it will happen with the next couple of generations. I believe it's going to happen too. I think the women, the us that are aware of this, we are laying the foundation for this to happen. Us speaking on this, the women that are speaking on it now, a lot of us that are waking, we are laying the foundation for the next generation to build off of and make this a reality, because it's going to happen. Ain't no way around it, because you did too much. And if you are a man and you're saying, "Oh, I don't see how that's happen," you're saying that because you have been getting away with doing raggedy stuff to women for over 10,000 years. Hey, our slave masters didn't believe that one day we'll be free, but we got free, didn't we? We got free, didn't we? They thought slavery was gonna be endless, that they was gonna have it. They had fights about it and everything, but we got free, didn't we? 20s, but I would be okay. It's gonna happen. I'm in my 20s, but I will in 2 or 3 generations from me. Yep, they got free. So again, don't underestimate women. We have a really good thing that we do. Women do. We make men feel like they're running things when we're actually running things. We have a good way of making y'all think that. We're very good at it. And we'll stand back and watch you make mistakes and self destruct, knowing that that was the outcome the whole time. We're very good at that. Okay? We've learned how to help you use your own strength against yourself without lifting a finger. So you probably want to be careful about what you're saying, because we have a funny way of getting what we want, and you help us get what we want without even knowing that you're helping us. Yeah, we have a funny way of doing that. You probably living with a woman now and you think your life is so great. Because you think you're running things, but you're not. It's her. Without her, nothing would run smooth because you're not running anything. We have a funny way of making you think you run something and you don't. The same way you're going to find out real soon that you're not running nothing now. But yeah, you could be secure and think, oh, we building this and we can build guns and we can knock people out, we can punch people and all that. I think the most fierce warrior on the planet is women because you underestimate our strength and courage. I think women warriors are the most brutal. She's the first protector. She mastered that. So I don't think any of you can outsmart that. I don't think you have that in you. You think you do, but you don't. You don't have that. They have something to prove when angry. They're very emotional, but you blame that on women. Y'all are so emotional. I have a group of men. I hate this too. Y'all are so emotional that you had to change the spiritual arts and books and sciences and stuff to put you in charge so you can feel good about yourself. Now, who too emotional? You change books, you change signs, you disconnected women from their bodies, from the land, and all of that because you were so jealous, mad, and angry. You had to change everything and then turn around and say, we did this because men are more logical and women are too emotional. But it's not us wanting to push the button. It's not us that have a high statistics of hurting women and children. It's not us that get off on hurting women and children. We don't have the high statistical numbers for that. But we the one with the emotional problem, right? We're too emotional, right? We're too emotional. But yet you have a group of you that have made a religion, stole it from women, changed everything in it, and all that stuff because you didn't get the acknowledgement stuff that you wanted. So you changed it and you lied to women, manipulated them, used dark psychology, gaslighting on women, humanity as a whole. You told everybody they came from, and then turned around and said, we're over everything because you women are too emotional and we're more logical. I used to get really upset about this. I would be cussing mad about this. I'm just, I don't even have the words for it anymore. I don't even think you guys understand how big this lie is, and to keep it going on, and to still stand up and talk about humanity and religion and God and all that, like you really know, and you don't do anything for the benefit of women and children. The only thing you're doing is trying to seek more control over them and make them your property. I sit with that sometimes, and they really, I don't want to hear them talk. Every time I hear them talk, I don't want. It's a few of them that's talking about the divine feminine, and I listen to what they have to say, and I, kind of move on. But I don't want to listen to what y'all say because everything you say is just backwards. It's totally opposite. And you even have them going up in here messing up some of these ATRs as well. They're using their phallic to manipulate. and things like that. They are corrupting some of these spiritual sciences. Y'all are duping women, acting like that you're spiritual, and then you going in now. You're turning into warlock. You being again more predatory. You even infiltrated that. You said, well, now she's spiritual. Now I have to act like that. Okay, you have some of them that act like they love Jesus, the Lord. That was getting you like that when you was in the church, because most of the women are spiritual in the church. That's why I tell the women you need to get out of there, because you are supporting your demise. That is the very religion they're going to use to lock you down and start this war on women. They getting ready to start. They're going to start it through their church. They're going to start it through the church. That is the best brainwashing mechanism they have used on women, and it has been successful, because they got a lot of our dumb asses still sitting in there believing that. They're going to do it through the church, and it's going to be the women through the church. They're going to be the biggest threat to women's liberation. I know you're saying right now, Miss Penny, I don't see it. You don't see what I see. You didn't even sit down and see who you are. That's why you don't see it, because you don't even know who you are. I know that's right, Noble Queen said, I see it. They are going to do that. That's coming. Don't you think that ain't coming? That abortion stuff was put, making abortion illegal and all that stuff, and shutting down the border. All these they're preparing. So everything is put in order. So when your ass get ready to run and think that you're not going to be a baby breeder, you're sadly fucking mistaken. You're going to be a baby breeder. They're going to be rounding your asses up. You will be doing duty for your country. You'll be serving your country in that way. Oh, they have did it before. If you're not a childbearing age, they might even take your children. That's why they lowering the age for consent. I don't like, and women are so domicile, so docile. They're so wrapped up in. They're not all like that. They're good and all that. Okay. So was your grandfather, but my grandma ain't with him. So my uncles, but ain't none of them with their baby mamas, and they bought baby mama don't think nothing about them. We're not good men. Well, I wouldn't even choose them for a man. That's just how regular they is. Keep this fantasy going up. And this is perpetually keep us in the cycle of being oppressed and suppressed, because these women have, again, they won't, they don't want any self awareness. Okay. You got some women like that too that are dangerous to be around, because they y'all term for it is pygmy. They got pygmy stuff going on with them. I'm gonna use that term. Maybe you'll understand it better. Yes, me, they've been thoroughly brainwashed. They didn't drink the Kool-Aid. They believe this stuff with these men. Even though they the most dangerous predators on the planet. And they more dangerous than a lion or a tiger. You understand me? A bear. Honey, damn woman said the women say they rather be with a bear than a damn man. Okay? They're dangerous. Is all of them like that? No. But hell, they know they like that because they don't trust each other. And if we don't get ourselves together and we don't start unpacking this, especially spiritually, because it's going to take you a while to get your mind together. That's why I go in, I show you these things, and I break it down for you. And so when we get to doing our rituals and things like that, you understand this divine feminine energy more, and you understand the rituals and the work that we're doing in there in our community. That's why I come in there and break it down to you like that. I have to, because these people, the lies. You can blame it on, yeah, The palm colored people wrote a whole bunch of uh uh false stuff in history about dark skinned people. Yeah, you have that. But when you look at the magnitude of men that just wrote lies about women, the numbers is even higher. The numbers are even higher when you see how many men that have wrote women out of history, or women uh they have stole writings or poetry or inventions and stuff from women and took credit for it. You think that happened just to black people? No, that happened to a lot of women. That's why I have to go in and talk about the philosophy. When I look at the philosophers, Socrates and Plato and all them, who you learn from. They got you thinking that these men were smart, that they woke up smart. And then I have to take you in there and show you they were learning this stuff. They were stealing all this knowledge from women, trying to build their own organization because they didn't even have enough knowledge to sit down and quit, become become self-aware on their own. The only way they can become self-aware or learn anything about love, anything about sadness, they had to sit with these older wise women. And their philosophy was born from the wisdom of older women. The lies that just go on. They really try to make themselves look smart. And God, they are the most inferior species on the planet. And they got you thinking women is that. No, it's them. Who else would be trying to push a button and just make everything go boom with women and children in it because they mad? I don't want to be here having this conversation, but the great mother said, talk about this. So I'm talking about this in the most respectful way that I can talk about it, to educate women and to get them involved in some sort of activism, especially spiritually, with educating yourself. Because that's what they did. They brainwashed you through your spiritual practices and your sciences and disconnected you. And not just you, your children and whole civilizations. And now we got a whole bunch of crazy sick people walking around here. Okay. This matters deeply when we speak of ritual and invocation today. If the Hermetic writings were treated as a domain of male occultists and secret societies, women appear as outsiders, reclaiming something foreign. But when the lineage is traced correctly, women are not reclaiming borrowed knowledge; they are returning home. These rites are always rooted in feminine custodianship. They were preserved by men because they worked, not because they belonged to them. They would not be able to access any energy, power grids, or anything like that without addressing this divine feminine energy. You're going to see it in every occult. These rights are going to be brought up. They will at some point have to come in contact with the divine feminine to again access real power. There's no way around that. That is the original currency, energy current on this planet. That's why so much water here on the planet. Ritual occurred through speech, memory, and alignment. To speak sacred knowledge aloud was to activate it. To understand it was to participate in it. In this way, the Virgin of the World operates as an invocation, one that calls the reader or listener back to the remembrance of their divine origin. When patriarchal occult orders studied Hermetic texts in the secrecy, they engaging in feminine origin technology while denying women access to it. The irony is stark. Women were excluded from mysteries whose very structure depended on feminine intelligence. It's crazy. You're going to keep me from something that belongs to me and then make it secret and hidden and then water it down for you. The preservation of Hermeticism by Patriarch was never an act of guardianship, it was an act of containment. And see, they called it by something else. Again, them laying claims on it. So many that different ways through Hermeticism, the Emerald tablets, and then blowing it up. This is about his spiritual evolution. This has nothing to do with women. This is about his spiritual evolution. We have already, again, perfected the spiritual sciences. He has not. He doesn't even have a cosmic link. You have somebody who is trying to evolve spiritually, stealing something from somebody who's already spiritually evolved. That whole Bible was for him, by him. And even in that Bible, the God that he created, he can't even satisfy the God he even created, because he can't even keep his word. It's not a man. Everybody just keep failing this God they created. What happened historically is familiar. When patriarchal cultures encounter matriarchal balance systems, they absorb the technology but erase the women. The Greeks inherited Egyptian temple sciences, stripped them of their ritual context, and reframed them as philosophy. These were sciences. They'll go in and they'll do that. And they're not the originate. When have you ever had them have an original thought? They don't have any inspiration, creativity. All that is divine feminine. And if he has knowledge of self, he knows this. In doing so, they transform living rites into text, communal invocation into private study, and feminine cosmology into abstract principle. And they would like to tell you too, and God knows you know, I like a lot of things that some of uh Bobby Hemmett says. And some of the others, but when they get to the subject about the divine feminine, they just need to shut up. Stop talking. Stop talking about women's stuff. You're not a woman. You don't have a womb. And I know you want to educate your followers or whatever, but I think for men, that's when you need to just be quiet. You need to stay with the general. Stop telling stories of humanity and stop telling stories about divine feminine, because most of you get a lot of it wrong. Okay? You have that looking evil and you like to call it chaos, disorderly, when really the chaos and disorderly is going on while the male is ruling. There's nothing orderly about what's happening here. I hate to even have to have this conversation. Never sound like a broken record. Then they making camps. Yeah. The egos won't stop it. Yeah. Stop calling that. They would call it chaos. They would call it unorder and all this stuff. When when we go back and look at this, when your great mothers were in charge of the planet, humanity was in its golden age. There were fruits, food, plenty of food, or anything. You didn't need no money because you had the resources right to the land. It was hand to mouth. You didn't need that. You knew how to heal. You were in contact with your telepathic abilities, the telekinesis. You knew all the science. You knew how to manipulate energy, work with energy. There was magic everywhere. And women held a lot of that magic. That's why you'll see that in hoodoo, uh, which we're going to be talking about that. That's in my other channel. But you'll see that in hoodoo, women held a lot of the sacred knowledge. Okay, these men did not have that. The patriarchal system rose to dominance, particularly through the consolidation of religious authority and state of power. These feminine centered rights were not destroyed outright. Instead, they were appropriated, reframed, and restricted. Male priesthood, philosophers, and later occult orders preserved Hermetic texts carefully, studying them in secret while publicly denying women access to the same currents of power. The irony of of is striking. The very tradition that proclaimed women spiritually inferior depended on feminine cosmology, womb symbolism, and world soul theology to fuel their own esoteric practices. And this at the same time, I can't wait till we get into Gnosticism because all this is going to come full circle. Because they again, they're really, once I break this down and we look at it, they look stupid. Just like racism looks stupid, this looks patriarchy looks stupid once you start breaking down all this crap they have done together. It looks just as stupid as racism. I'm gonna show it to you too, okay? Because I'm here to dismantle these lies so we can again be put back on the throne where we belong. And the best thing for men to do, especially men of color, is to help put us up there. You need to be giving all that you can give to put us back in our rightful place. Because that's the only way things gonna get right for you. I know you don't want to hear that, but that is the truth. Calling these texts hermetic without naming their true lineage is part of the same patriarchal containment strategy you've been naming all along. It makes the wisdom appear male authored, male guarded, and male transmitted, while women are positioned as later adopters rather than original custodians. Recentering sachet restores clarity. Because let's get this right. We need to stop with the thought thing. Let's just stop it. The thoughts didn't do anything. Okay. Tahuti didn't do all of this is coming from the older matriarch session. If you want to know how men think, look at the system they build. Exactly. That's all you got to see. They let you know that when they allowed abortions and the way they responded when women were sad about Kamala Harris, when they was sad, disappointed about the abortion rights. They let you know that because they couldn't wait to come here and tell you they didn't give a damn about how women feel. They look at you as a child and you're unimportant. They couldn't wait to tell you that this is the majority of how they feel. Your feelings, your thoughts is an afterthought. When they are children in the mind. That's crazy. It's the truth. That's what we're dealing with here. This is what we did. It's scary. But he already told you he was a jealous God. He's let you know that he was an immature God. This God is a toddler. These Abrahamic religions, they've letting you know that. It's so important. I can't tell you enough. You can train women can change the trajectory of what is happening just by walking out of churches and creating spiritual institutions for women. You can change the whole trajectory just by walking out of these churches and creating your own churches for women, by women, bound down to the woman God, the Most High, the great cosmic mother. The one they pretending that they bound down to, but they're really bound down to each other. They let you know the gods that they bound to is again associated with the material of this world, a counterfeit God. We're gonna get into that when we talk about Gnosticism, because we're gonna break Gnosticism down too. Because see, they've been keeping us blind with that, making us think that Gnosticism is really for the people and all that stuff. I'm gonna show you that too. I'm gonna get your bust your bubble on that too. This is what's really going on. It's scary when you think about it. We got a whole bunch of toddlers running the world, an inferior species. Can you imagine if I gave my 3-year-old the power to run the world? Can you imagine that? That's what's happening here. You've given a toddler the power to run the world that ain't got no sense God gave a goose. Ain't got no sense whatsoever. No type of maternal nurturing. Ain't got none of that in him. Ain't nurtured no baby. Ain't breastfeed no baby. Ain't gave birth to a human being. But is responsible for leading all human being life. That is the craziest shit ever. You know we've been brainwashed. You know they ain't let us do no critical thinking. We let this stuff happen. Ain't no way in the hell we let that stuff happen. They educated us right. We'll have somebody like that running something that ain't capable of running nothing. Don't even have children. Ain't got no womb. Don't birth no children in the world. Don't none of that. But then want to tell people what to do and don't ain't never had no baby. Ain't got no womb or nothing. Ain't raised no child from a little old thing or nothing. And want to be out here telling people how to live and stuff. Something happened to us for that to happen like that. Something happened to humanity. It makes me sad to see my family believe that they made the women who knew look crazy in the past. Yeah, they make us look crazy. The people, the crowns and the witches that, a lot of us, if you were back in the early 1800s, a lot of women like that, we were burned up. We were unalived. Our land was taken. Because a lot of women that had this wisdom, they owned a lot of land. And a lot of these men, again, Mary was a marrying a lot of these priestess and these women to take over their land because men did not have a lot of land rights. Women had all the land rights since we had the relationship with Earth and we were doing all the planting. We were doing all the planting. We had the special relationship with men. I mean, with the Earth. And when they figured out they was helping us again with the gathering and the hunting, they felt, oh, we got strength. We're powerful. We're more stronger than them. We can overthrow them. We are the gods. That's what happened. And we try to tell him, no, 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 no. You're not that. You're us. You wouldn't have the muscle anything without us. You need to understand you're still coming through the cosmic mother. You are not different. You are not God. We try to tell him that. But he just went on with the lies. Okay? The ego took over. Okay? It explains why the text activates rather than merely informs. It clarifies why invocation, recitation, and communal remembrance are essential to their power. This is not the Greek rationalism. This is the Egyptian temple science encoded, measured, and transmitted through the feminine order. This is especially evident in Western occultism. Renaissance magicians, alchemists, secret societies, revered Hermes Trismegistus as the father of hidden wisdom, yet largely ignored and intentionally obscured the fact that his most profound cosmological revelations were delivered from Isis that came from Session. We just ignore that fact. I guess so. I'm done with that. The virgin of the world became an abstract principle rather than a living feminine intelligence. Woman was transformed from source into symbol. The right remained, but her sovereignty was removed. Patriarch did not erase the ritual; it hoarded it. What we are witnessing now, particularly within the women led spiritual organization, is not the invention of something new, but the rightful reclamation of what was always ours. When women gather to speak, invoke, remember, and align with ancestral wisdom, they are engaging in the same theurgic acts the patriarchal occultists have practiced behind closed doors for centuries. The difference is intention. Patriarchal occultism sought dominion, control, and hierarchy. That's why they were still in those sciences. They was coming up with a way to manipulate it, to put things in their favors. And a lot of that was done through the Gnostics, which we're going to go down and break that down to you. There will be our next live stream where I'm going to show you where the Gnostics they fostered that, yet they get so much credit for ushering in the most purest Christianity. No, they didn't. They wrote the blueprint. So the lie, so Christian, they wrote the blueprint, a foundation for Christianity lies. They were the first ones to dilute the divine feminine mysteries for their religion. That's why they got to mention Gnosticism, because they were recording all this stuff from the divine feminine. You're going to see that when we get to talking about Barbelo and we talking about Sophia. I'm going to break all that down to you, how they reinterpreted that with lies. I'm so sorry. Yeah, the XY gene is disappearing, it's fading, it's going extinct. That's why they're scrambling right now. That's why his days is numbered. They telling the devil days is numbered. Who is the devil in? Because if it was to ever be a devil or adversary, I would think he'll be working through the XY chromosome. That's the only one that's wreaking havoc on the world. That's the one that women, our children, are afraid of. That's the one that's the biggest predator against women and children. Yeah, these are their last days, and they're scrambling with the numbers and the threats and all this stuff. The devil they created is the devil they looking at in the mirror. That's the devil. The Satan, the lower self. That's what we have here. The difference is intention. Okay, they're not trying to do any collective. The feminine invocation seeks restoration, balance, and collective healing, and that's exactly what we do in our community over there. That's what we're focused on. Focused on getting you back the occult knowledge, to getting back to doing the rituals again with the Great Mother, getting familiar with those rituals, getting back our spiritual knowledge. That is the main thing that we focused on over there. Doing collective rituals together, collective healing together, again, remembering who we are. We do a lot of that together. Okay, the virgin of the world teaches that humanity once existed in a luminous and unified state, capable of union with the divine without intermediaries. That's what we taught in our science, because we knew we were connected to the divine. We didn't need a middle person. We didn't need any of that. We showed you how to do that. And patriarchs, they didn't want that. They didn't want people having freedom in their mind, body, and spirit. So what did they do? They create these intermediaries. This Jesus rituals was the first thing I tried when I tapped into my spirituality. I know they are very powerful. I know rituals, when women get together and start doing rituals and song and dance and things shift. We start to see changes in our environment. This they learn from us. Okay? That's why they got together with themselves. But at the middle of that, they only had little success because at some point they had to introduce women into the occult. They wasn't making the progress they wanted without women. So at some point they had to integrate women into the lodge rituals. Okay, they were limited with that. At some point they had to introduce women into the rites. The fall described in the text is not a moral failure, but a forgiveness, a descent into the material obsession and separation from the divine intelligence. This mirrored the historical forgetting imposed upon women, the loss of priestesshood, the criminalization of womb wisdom, the erasure of women of cosmological authorities. To reclaim these rights is to reverse that was forgotten. When women invoke the Virgin of the world today, they are not summoning an external goddess. They are activating the world soul within themselves and within the community. This is why patriarchal systems have always feared women organizing spiritually. Collective feminine invocation dissolves hierarchy. It restores memory. It reestablishes women as conduits of the divine order rather than subjects of the doctrine. It also It is also important to understand that these rites do not require validation from patriarchal traditions to be legitimate. The fact that men preserve them for their own occult use is not proof of ownership, it is proof of dependence. They knew these currents worked. They knew feminine cosmology held power, and rather than honoring its sources, they attempted to control it. I agree, Nova, Queen. For women's spiritual organizations today, this reclamation is not symbolic, it is corrective. To invoke the Virgin of the world while acknowledging Seshet as the original architect of this wisdom is to dismantle the false lineage imposed by the patriarchy. It is to say plainly, it is to say plainly, the knowledge did not originate with Hermes, nor even with Thoth or later traditions, uh, even with thought as later traditions portray him. It originated with the feminine intelligence that measures the cosmos and remembers its laws. To speak these words again in women's circles is to restore their original function. It is to return to return invocation to its rightful guardians. It is to remember that the divine feminine was never lost, only suppressed. And suppression is not the same as disappearance. The virgin of the world still listens, the world soul still responds, and women remembering together is and always has been the most powerful ritual of all. In the world's oldest creation myths, the female god creates the world out of her own body. The great mother everywhere as the active and autonomous creatrix of the world. And unlike the aloof of self righteous patriarchal gods who only recently usurped the mountain throne, the ancient goddess was always there alive, immanent within her creation, no ontological scapegoater. She was wholly responsible for both the pain and good of life. Okay, I think that's everything. We have covered everything when it comes to this world virgin, feminine wisdom, and ritual. I'm trying to see her coming, which is why they turn us against each other. Yep. So we got a lot of women against each other. That's all again competing because they had to make themselves the prize. So now we got women competing for male validation, acknowledgement. We can't wait to be a slave. We can't wait to be their wives and their girlfriends and do their laundry and cook for them and have their children and for them to suck us dry. Oh, we can't wait for that. Oh, I just look at myself. Oh, I couldn't wait to be a slave. And then when I got in there, I was like, oh, I don't like this. This is something. I got to get out of this. This ain't good for me. But that is the versions of the world, and that is the breakdown of what we're doing when we're looking at that. So when you go, and I know it's a 90-page document, and this 90-page document is talking about the conversation, the cosmic, the soul's evolution from a cosmic perspective, and it's been told to Horus by the Great Mother. So you have this conversation going on where Horus she's explaining to Horus, which is the first man that would have been again would have went through the sacred rites. She is explaining to him the soul progress and how it goes in the body and what life is really about and how we're remembering and things like that. So it's a really good document to look into, and then you see yourself in that too. These are the things that they hide from us. I used to think I was crazy when I wanted a female relationship, friendships more than a boyfriend. No, you're not. It's really nothing had there. I can say being in a relationship with them and having children with them, I always think I wish I would have made a better choice. Okay. The best thing that I gained with relationships with them, with the wisdom that I have now, that I can share with the younger generation so they won't make the same mistakes. And that's my means here. That is why I come here and talk about it. I did not want to talk about this because you guys know I have put this on the shelf for a few months. I've been in title for almost a year. And I did not want to talk about this. The great mother said it's time to talk about it. You know, you got to talk about your experience. You're away from there, you're healing. I think they're ready to listen. And so I'm here talking about it because she said, hey, they're ready to listen. And because it's such a sticky subject, because this can talking about this can go either way. Either you're going to get a lot of men and women that hate you, or you're going to get some men and women that support you. It's just no way in the middle with this, because every time I've seen women approach this, you know, the men get upset, and then you got some women that get upset, and you just can't. You got when you're talking about this subject, you really have to be confident in who you are, because this subject can go either way. And I think with women, especially black women, because of we've been so orchestrized, because our courage, our strength, and the magic that we carry, you know, I think it could be very difficult for us, because they have created a whole world. I hate to say it, they have created a whole world that demoralize and devalue the black woman, and yet she is the most valuable thing on this planet. And we got to get that back. And we have to get that back by separating ourselves from, you know, these people and remembering who we are. Got to do it. Got to get somewhere and start focusing on us. Because talking about them, it's not gonna fix it. We have to do something different, and that is the response to what's going on, because it will impact them. We're doing something different and focused on us. That's why I'm here. You know, this is a hard subject to talk about. It can go. I've seen with people that talk about this. It's so hard to talk about this too, without holding light to the raggedy stuff that they do, because they have did so much. They have traumatized women so much. We're so focused on the raggedy stuff that they're doing, instead of creating community and autonomy for us. And I really don't want to focus on what they're doing or what they have done, because it didn't happen. It's nothing we can do about it. I want to focus on what we can do now. We already know they raggedy. We already know they raggedy hunted. They ain't worth the quarter. We already know that. And we beating a dead horse just talking about it. It ain't gonna make them better just by talking about it. Cause they not already let you know. We don't care how much you talk about it. We still gonna be raggedy. Some of them to let us know that. We don't care how much you're talking about it. And you're gonna have to accept us being raggedy, because this is a man's world. Well, I declare, you're gonna have to rephrase that after a little while, because it ain't gonna be your world in a little while. Okay? Does anybody have any questions or anything before I close out this live stream? And I'll be coming back again, having another discussion. The next discussion, we're going to be talking about Gnosticism, so you can really understand how they try to validate Christianity by going in, corrupting a lot of these rituals, or the meaning of the rituals, because that's what happened with here with the Virgin of the World. They went in and corrupted the Virgin of the World, and that's when the Gnostics comes up with this demiurge, and it makes it look like, oh, the Gnostics, they're outing what the patriarchs is doing. No, that's not what they're doing. I'm gonna show you that. And it'll make it look that from the what you I can't I'm gonna pronounce it wrong, because I'm not the best pronouncer. What they call the Nahamidi script. They try to give validation to it, but that Nahamidi script only showing you how men were coming together, writing a plan to undermine the divine feminine spiritual sciences. That's what that is. But they didn't put it in front of you like, oh, the Gnostics, they had the Jews, they understood. No. They were the first ones who wrote out a direct plan to undermine the spiritual sciences of women, and I'll show you that. No, women didn't really like men like that because the women knew how men they was. The relationship that we had with men was very different from the relationship that you see now. It was very transactional. Not a lot of women was married for love and all that sort of stuff because we had more knowledge of self. So most of the relationships that we had with men, they were very transactional. And even back in that time, men, they knew their role. They understood that God was a woman. They knew that women embodied that. So the relationship with them was totally different from the relationship you see today. Today is a relationship that you were brainwashed into. You were a prisoners of war. We were made to think like that. Women have been prisoners of war for over 10,000 years. We don't even know it. We've still been prisoners of war. We're still captive up under them. They still own us. They still think they own us. That never changed. They've already started canceling women bank accounts now. They're gonna get ready to do that. They're gonna stop giving you credit cards. They're gonna put credit limits on your credits. You're going to that DEI you think is for racism. No, the DEI is to stop women from having resources. You won't even be able to get certain jobs. They put it all in place for you. You just don't know. They got you looking that way and thinking it's about that. When really, it's about you. And you're not going to know that until they're ready to implement things. They've already getting everything lined up. I'm talking about now. I still don't think they do. They want women in a male body. They do. That's what we want. But they don't have that. They don't have that in them. The only way you're going to get that if men was educated about who women are and who they are. Right now, you got them being educated with degenerate information, information that caused them to degenerate. It's degenerate behavior, self-sabotaging behavior. So yeah, that's what we want. If they would have been properly educated in an environment where they're properly educated, they will probably have a lot of those qualities. But because they don't, that's not what you're gonna get. Also, how can I protect myself when this happens? Being educated, I think you're doing a lot of the protecting right now just by being educated. You know what's going on. And it sounds like to me you're not willing to go in it. You know the risk of going in a relationship, but a lot of women don't know that. I think the best thing that we can do is start spreading awareness and then emphasizing the importance of women understanding who they are spiritually. I think you're doing a great job. I think you're protecting yourself now through awareness because we couldn't protect ourselves, okay? We didn't have any awareness. We didn't know how dangerous they was. Everywhere we looked, we was taught to get married, have children and all that. Okay, and yet we say saw these complicated relationships that our mother had with our fathers and marriages. It was just very confusing. So we didn't have a lot of knowledge, and uh the environment was going against everything that was naturally inside of us. We're saying no, we don't want to get married because we've seen this experience, but yet society is pushing this upon us. And so now we can speak more openly about it while we have the chance, because I don't know how long you guys are going to be able to talk about it where you're at now. They're doing a lot of censorship here, and I think when they start again honing in on the women, the censorship is just going to get worse. So I think the only way to be protect yourself is being aware of it, because if you're aware of it, you can't get pulled into it. When you don't know no better, you can't do any better. So you can be taken advantage of and be pulled into the crazy stuff. But once you know, you can't. And even then, as things crop up, I do recommend that women learn self defense. Have a community where you know where you can support each other. I just hope I will be protected. It will. I think it will. As women wake up, because what they're depending on now, what men are depending on now, is for you to stay brainwashed and feel defeated and hopeless. That's not happening. Women are saying, "Go to hell. I got my girlfriends. I got my children. I'm gonna be okay." It's having the opposite effect they thought they was gonna have. Or you're gonna die alone. Well, we're not afraid to be alone. We were born alone, so we'll just be alone. Sir, you might leave here alone, but we're not gonna leave here alone. If we do leave here alone, that's fine. Okay. So a lot of projection has stopped. And it's happening. This is progressing as we speak. So my message to women, and you know how they is, you know how men are when you put them in a hot seat. They act a fool, they act crazy, they want to be self-destructive. Please have the support of women in your community. Look at these grassroots organizations, seeing what type of resources they have for you, what type of moral, spiritual support they can provide for you. Get involved in women communities, for women, by women, who know what's going on. Okay, who absolutely is not compromised by patriarchy ideology. So you want to be around those women, get educated so you can have strength, so you can have community, so you can be properly educated. If you are interested in, again, learning more about the spiritual sciences and the mysteries of women, get into our community. We're getting ready to start up our workshop. We'll probably be starting up our ritual workshop probably around March to springtime. So we will be doing ritual workshops in there. We will be learning about different goddess archetypes, divine feminine archetypes, and working with those archetypes. We will be focused on healing. So if you're interested in that and learning more about that, and we just hit a lot of topics about women, for women. That's a really great community for you, but we are definitely spiritually based. I'm saving and investing right now, though. I know that's right. So, if you're interested in it, look at our community. The link is in our bio. On It should be on YouTube and TikTok. Okay. And we're still growing. And you have anything to contribute to the community, uh, we want you there, because we're growing. We're putting this together ourselves, and this is our opportunity to create a spiritual infrastructure that would help us. Again, we remember who we are, and I think this is a great way to do it. And I would love to see you in our community. And again, the more we can contribute to our community, I think the better shifts and changes we can see around us. And we're definitely going to need it for the young generation. They need to really see how it's done so we can pass this on instead of the repeated mistakes that we have made unconsciously because we didn't know any better. Okay, love you guys, and I'll be talking to you soon about Gnosticism. You want to be in for that because I think that's a very juicy subject, how we're going to break that down. And I hope to see you there. And thank you so much for all that showed up for the community today. All right. Light, love, namaste. May the great mother be with all of you.